Chapter 1565. The fifth attempt at the 10,000 images array. If he succeeded, all the restrictions on Oldine Monkey would be lifted. If he failed, he would be expelled from the Heavenly Mystery Palace. The moment this announcement was made, it immediately caused an uproar. Almost everyone was already quietly applauding. In the eyes of the crowd, Oldine Monkey was playing with fire and getting burned. Especially when Oldine Monkey agreed, the square became even more noisy. He actually agreed so readily. Does this guy think he's not dead enough? The Heavenly Mystery Palace has had enough of him. This kind of tumor should have been removed long ago. Ha 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 ha, this time he's definitely going to play himself to death. At the same time, the 5 great saint inscription masters behind the third elder had already walked to 5 different locations in the center of the square. The 5 of them were like the 5 corners of a pentagram. Chu Hen and Oldine Monkey stood in the center. They were about 1,000 meters away from the 5 people around them. Are you ready? The third elder asked in a stern voice. Oldine Monkey slanted his eyes and asked Chu Hen beside him, Are you ready? Chu Hen nodded solemnly. Then let's begin. Oldine Monkey rubbed his palms. It could be seen that he was still a little nervous. After all, it was different from the previous few times. This time, he could truly feel the pressure. The third elder's gaze swept across the 5 people. Activate the 10,000 images array. Yes, the 5 people immediately obeyed. In the next moment, everyone's eyes turned cold. Along with the powerful aura that erupted from their bodies, waves of boundless and mighty spiritual energy gushed out from their Niwen palace. In an instant, the universe trembled and dark clouds covered the sky. The rapid and powerful waves of air were like a storm. Chu Hen only felt that he was in the center of the storm. The space around him was shaking and twisting uneasily. Buzz! In the next instant, numerous gorgeous and resplendent talisman markings suddenly appeared beneath their feet. Like crisscrossing, the earth spirit vines rapidly extended towards the outer area. In an instant, they extended to a diameter of 1,000 meters, occupying the entire center of the square. Swish! Swish! The 5 great saint inscription masters in 5 different directions were constantly making a series of complicated hand seals. Thousands of dazzling runes twinkled like stars in the sky. Under the control of the 5 people, the gorgeous runes quickly condensed into thousands of rays of light, which connected with the mysterious runes on the ground. When the entire array pattern was completely connected, the moment the last stroke was completed, the 5 people suddenly pointed their hands downward, squatted down, and pressed their palms into the ground. 10,000 elephants formation, rise, rise! The 5 of them shouted in unison. Buzz! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Under the gazes that were filled with amazement, the mysterious rune array on the ground in the center of the square rotated like an ancient totem light wheel. Countless rays of light blossomed from within, like a spatial gate connecting the earth to the ground. A huge cylindrical tower slowly rose from the ground. Chu Hen, who was in the center of the formation, narrowed his eyes and looked around cautiously. A circular wall fortress rose from the surroundings, locking the 2 of them in place. A shadow quickly shrouded them. Everything around the square was quickly isolated. Hua! In just 20 seconds, a cylindrical tower that pierced the sky directly appeared above the 10,000 elephants square. A mighty wave of air swept out. The invisible wave of air caused the entire square to become especially restless. Inside the tower, Chu Hen and the Oldine Monkey seemed to be separated into another space. The huge space inside the tower was somewhat dark and cold. There were ice-cold walls all around, and there was no exit. The top of the tower was also sealed above their heads. It was quiet, deathly silent. Chu Hen frowned slightly, looking at the Oldine Monkey. This is the 10,000 elephants formation. It hasn't started yet. The Oldine Monkey said in a deep voice. Buzz. As soon as his voice fell, a strange energy fluctuation suddenly appeared on the surrounding walls. Then the walls actually caved in at a speed visible to the naked eye. The densely packed squares were arranged neatly on the walls. Inside the square lattice were many strange-looking stone statues. This is... Chu Hen clenched his fists, his eyes filled with vigilance. Tens of thousands of squares. There was a stone statue in each of the squares. Strange of every description. Most of them were stone statues of demonic beasts and monsters. But there were also a small number of human statues. Buzz! In the next instant, a steady stream of spatial rhythm assaulted him from all directions. Under Chu Hen's still dignified gaze, the stone statues on the wall all opened their eyes. Pairs of eyes filled with demonic aura stared at the two people in the tower like sharp arrows. It was like being stared at by countless pairs of dark eyes in the dark night. It made one's scalp tingle. "It's about to start," the old monkey said in a deep voice. Just as his voice fell, an incomparably fierce and cold current rose up in the huge tower. It was like an undercurrent from the deep sea, rapid and cold. "Go away!" Along with the old monkey's shout, there was an incomparably heavy explosion. The ground under the two people's feet suddenly cracked open. An octopus tentacle that was tens of meters long rushed out of the ground without any warning, sweeping towards the two people. The cold wind whistled, the air waves stacked up. The ice-cold tentacle contained a tremendous force, emitting an extremely powerful killing power. Chu Hen and the old monkey, one on the left and one on the right, retreated. The stones that flew recklessly mixed with the chaotic air waves flew towards the two people. Buzz! Without waiting for Chu Hen to stabilize his body, a sharp wind breaking power came from behind. Chu Hen's eyes trembled. He immediately turned his head, and what entered his eyes was a fierce tiger with two wings on its back. Looking at the fierce tiger that was constantly enlarging in his eyes, Chu Hen's mind moved. Countless rays of purple lightning like rays of light poured out from his body. Crack! In the next second, a rapid and gorgeous purple lightning beam burst out from the palm of Chu Hen's right hand, like the cloud piercing divine light. The purple light beam directly penetrated the huge body of the winged tiger. Roar! The ferocious tiger let out a deep roar, and its huge body also flew out. But immediately after, the sound of sharp energy tearing through the air appeared again on the left and right. Wu, Li, a three-eyed wolf emitting a savage aura and a dark-winged falcon with a completely black body extended their incomparably sharp claws and teeth towards Chu Hen at the same time. Chu Hen's eyes moved back and forth. Swish! A string of electric arcs appeared in the air, leaving behind an afterimage. Bang! With a muffled sound, the fierce wolf and falcon collided, their sharp teeth and claws digging into each other's body, splattering a scarlet rain of blood. Is this an illusion or a living thing? Seeing the blood spurting out, Chu Hen's face revealed some astonishment. At this time, the old monkey was also surrounded by a group of demonic beasts. While resisting, he reminded Chu Hen, the 10,000 elephant array is a combination of a killing array and an illusion array. Although these things are illusions, they are integrated with the blood essence and vitality of a living body, so they have substantial lethality. And they look no different from living fierce beasts. Chu Hen slightly narrowed his eyes and could not help but secretly exclaim, "No wonder it was an array that was jointly activated by 5 great saint inscription masters." This 10,000 elephant array was really incredible. It felt like he was really in a group of fierce beasts, making it difficult to distinguish between real and fake. Chapter 1566. 1 Second to Remember. Wonderful pop-up window free reading. Heavenly Mystery Palace. At this moment, they were immersed in an indescribable atmosphere. Say nervous. However, not many people's heartstrings were taut. Wanxiang Square. A cylindrical tower that reached the clouds was like a towering pillar that supported the 9 heavens. The square was already surrounded by people. Everyone's gazes were fixed on the strange-looking grand tower in front of them. The inside of the pagoda was completely sealed off. Chu Hen and Old Een Monkey were unable to see what was happening outside. And what was surprising was that the people outside the square could clearly see the situation inside. From the outside, the walls of the tower appeared to be illusory and translucent. Through the illusory wall, everyone could see everything that was happening inside. Hey, how long do you think, Han, you can last this time? Even though they were all members of the Heavenly Mystery Palace, they were completely enjoying the misfortune of the Old Een Monkey, who was different from the rest. Last time he lasted for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. This time it won't be longer than that. I think this time it will be about half a cup of tea. Last time it was 1 person. This time it's 2 people. The power of the Wanxiang formation has doubled. Even though there are 2 of them, it won't be of much use. That's right. In the Wanxiang formation, 1 + 1 is less than 2. Han, you definitely won't be able to last time. Thinking about how he's going to be expelled from the Heavenly Mystery Palace, I'm a little reluctant. The one who said reluctant, can you not laugh so happily? There didn't seem to be much malice, but everyone just didn't like the Old Een Monkey. So much so that everyone present felt that the Old Een Monkey and Chu Hen would lose without a doubt. In the Wanxiang formation, inside the dark and cold giant tower, Chu Hen and the Old Een Monkey had already fallen into the encirclement of many ferocious beasts, even though it was an illusion. But to set up this Wanxiang formation, it was fused with the essence, blood, and spiritual yuan of countless ferocious beasts. The illusions it produced were almost no different from real living beasts, especially the blood that splattered out and the cold stench that was spat out. It was as if it was real. Roar! Giant beasts roared, and all kinds of ferocious creatures launched fierce attacks at Chu Hen. Whoosh! Chu Hen summoned the formless Emperor Blade and charged into the horde of beasts, setting off a fierce massacre. The sword danced in the sky, and lightning flickered. One after another, lightning sword moves traversed the sky like divine rainbows that pierced through the sun, and they chopped and shattered the ferocious beasts that pounced at them. Flying immortal sword, chi. Over 10 humanoid-shaped strands of violet sword chi appeared successively in the heavens and the earth, and they were like rays of light that flashed through the sky while leaving after-images behind. Every single ferocious beast that was struck by these humanoid-shaped strands of sword chi had their flesh split open and their limbs severed. It could be said that Chu Hen's every move saw blood, and every sword took a life. Ferocious beasts were slaughtered one after another. What a beautiful sword move! He does have some spirit. I underestimated him. Looking at Chu Hen's stunning opening in the Wanxiang array, many disciples of the Heavenly Mystery Palace were somewhat surprised, and, compared to Chu Hen's killing style, the Old Een Monkey seemed a bit strange. Facing the siege of many ferocious beasts, the Old Een Monkey directly jumped up and down, like a chased flea, hopping here and there. However, although the Old Een Monkey's actions were very strange, the other party's dodging was especially accurate and on point. Bang! A giant bear swung its millstone-sized heavy claw at the Old Een Monkey. The latter dodged with a wrestling style, rolling and crawling to the side of the giant bear's hind leg. Then the Old Een Monkey raised his hand and flipped it over. Along with a burst of intense Reiki energy fluctuations, a few mysterious runes flashed out from his palm. The Old Een Monkey flipped his hand and hit the giant bear's right leg joint with the runes. The runes that touched the giant bear's right leg suddenly burst out with an extremely restless energy fluctuation. Hee go to hell! The Old Een Monkey laughed eerily and immediately leaped out. In the next moment, an incomparably heavy and violent explosion sounded out. The earth cracked and a berserk wave of air swept out. The giant bear immediately flew out and heavily smashed into the ground. its entire right leg directly blown to pieces. Ayo! Then a cold and fishy wind blew over. A giant horned snake, covered in green scales, rushed in front of the old monkey, opening its large mouth that was flowing with venom and pouncing down. Fuck! You earthworms still want to eat me! The old monkey raised his hand and threw out a few dazzling runes. The runes flew into the giant snake's mouth, and with another bang, a loud sound rang out. A cloud of blood mixed with red and white flesh surged out, and the giant snake's head was directly blown to pieces. Humph, little thing, you still want to fight with me. Watching the old monkey indiscriminately bombarding the old monkey, the corner of the third elder's eyes couldn't help but twitch outside the Wanxiang array. This bastard simply refuses to mend his ways. From his point of view, the old monkey was simply not a thing. Everyone knew that a rune master used Reiki energy to condense runes, and then arrange them to create a series of mysterious rune techniques that gave rise to a mystical power. And the higher the level of the runes, the more powerful the power contained within. In particular, the runes condensed by a great saint rune master were extremely destructive. When arranging any kind of rune technique, there couldn't be any mistakes. Once the runes were arranged incorrectly, it would cause the rune power to repel each other, resulting in a violent impact. If the consequences were serious, the rune power that was not controlled could even backfire on the rune master, resulting in irreversible consequences. Therefore, the correct arrangement of the runes was the most important and necessary commandment and warning for all rune masters in the world. However, what the old monkey had just done was to deliberately arrange the runes incorrectly, instantly causing the runes to repel each other, causing the rune power to wantonly spill out. Although he had achieved good results a few times, but once there was a deviation, the one to suffer would be the old monkey himself. A normal arrangement of runes would not harm oneself no matter what, but the old monkey's actions would cause him to lose his life if he was the slightest bit careless. It was precisely this kind of behavior that was forbidden to all rune masters that the old monkey was playing with wind and water. Coupled with the other party's despicable expression, it immediately caused many of the upper echelons of the Heavenly Mystery Palace to be furious. What a sin! Our Heavenly Mystery Palace has a 10,000-year reputation. How could we produce such a bastard? If not for his status, the third elder might really have scolded him. Look at the third elder's expression. He should be quite angry. The crowd outside whispered, "How can he not be angry? Hanyu likes to play with fire. Randomly arranging runes is a taboo for rune masters. If he does this, sooner or later, something will happen. Sooner or later, enough things have happened. This scourge should be sent away as soon as possible. It's safer for us." In the Wanxiang formation, the old monkey naturally could not see the people outside who were gnashing their teeth in hatred. He was still jumping up and down in the midst of the many vicious beasts' attacks. From time to time, he would throw out a dozen or so saint-level runes that were purposely arranged incorrectly. Then he would use the repulsive force between the runes to cause an area of effect violent power to explode one ferocious beast after another. Although this unconventional move was extremely hateful, the effect was surprisingly good. After all, the runes that were casually thrown did not need to be arranged at all. It was almost equivalent to an instant release of power. "Chu Henbrat, can you still hold on?" The old monkey shouted. "Don't worry about me." Chu Hen's aura was biting cold. A sword of frost spread in all directions. The swift and fierce purple electric sword light was like a myriad of rays of light that swept out with an endless killing power. Chi, 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 a rain of blood danced in the air. The lightning interweaved like a net, piercing through the bodies of huge vicious beasts one after another. Hee, I'm relieved to hear that. However, the further it goes, the stronger the Wanxiang formation becomes. You have to be careful. I'm still waiting for you to persevere until I use my ultimate move. Chapter 1567. Big move? hearing the conversation between Old Een Monkey and Chu Hen in the Wanxiang Formation. The people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace couldn't help but be startled, but then they revealed looks of disdain. Big move. Is there a hole in this guy's brain? The power of the Wanxiang Formation will only get stronger and stronger. Later, he won't even have a chance to resist. How can he use big moves? Hee, you believe the words of a madman? That's not necessarily true. To be honest, although Han Yu has done some shameful things, I have to admit that the palace master still likes him a lot. It's good to like him. After all, this guy isn't completely flawed. However, if he fails again this time, no matter how much the palace master protects him, he'll have to pack up and leave. That's very likely. Old Een Monkey's thoughts were very strange. What he liked the most was to break the rules and take the unconventional path. However, he was too uncontrollable, causing trouble every 2 or 3 days, which was why the Heavenly Mystery Palace had such a headache. Boom! Bang! In the Wanxiang Formation, a fierce battle was taking place inside the completely sealed giant tower. Chu Hen's sword was still like a rainbow, killing fiercely. All kinds of incomparably stunning moves caused the people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace to secretly exclaim in admiration. One by one, the bodies of the fierce beasts fell to the ground. Fresh blood flowed out, limbs flew, and it was especially bloody and cruel. However, if one looked closely, they would find that the bodies of the fierce beasts that had died at the beginning had unknowingly turned into countless crystal fragments and dissipated on the ground. As time passed, the speed of the manifestation array's operation gradually increased. Chu Hen could clearly feel that the strength of the fierce beasts he was facing was much stronger than at the beginning. Moreover, their appearance was more ferocious and domineering. Even so, for the extremely experienced Chu Hen, he did not feel too much pressure. On the other hand, Old Een Monkey was the first to show signs of being unable to hold on. Under the siege of so many fierce beasts, Old Een Monkey's counterattacks became much less frequent. From the looks of it, he probably won't be able to hold on for half a cup of tea's time. I've already said it before. If 2 people try to break the formation, they'll have to endure double the pressure of the 10,000 elephant formation. Furthermore, the number of illusions gathered in the 10,000 elephant formation is especially large. Even 2 people with the best tacit understanding would not be able to cooperate with each other. In the eyes of the people of Heavenly Mystery Palace, there was not much suspense in the outcome. Outside the arena, Luo Mingshang's beautiful eyes rippled slightly. She was still a little worried as she looked at Chu Hen inside. After all, for him, it was not as simple as helping Old Een Monkey successfully break the array. It could be said that neither of them could afford to lose. Bang! A mighty and heavy purple tornado suddenly spread over the 10,000 elephants formation. The incomparably domineering purple lightning vortex swept out in all directions with an earth-shattering momentum. Wherever it went, the beasts felt as if they had been hit by a tremendous force. The huge beasts were like evil creatures that had been burned by the flames of hell, and they were burned to ashes amidst shrill roars. That is, the eyes of the 3rd elder of Heavenly Mystery Palace narrowed, and a bit of surprise appeared on his face. In the 10,000 elephant formation, Chu Hen's entire body was swaying with incomparably violent purple lightning. The formless emperor blade in his hand erupted with the power of wind and rain. Under his sword, numerous beasts were cut apart like melons and vegetables. Blood splattered in the sky. And in the process of fighting against the group of fiends, Chu Hen was also secretly observing the characteristics of the formation's operation. He was surprised to find that every time a beast was killed, one of the stone statues in the square on the surrounding walls would close its eyes, and the light emitted would also dim. 10,000 elephant formation, the tens of thousands of stone statues in the square on the wall. There was definitely a connection. Chu Hen boy. At this moment, Old Een Monkey, who was surrounded by many beasts, suddenly shouted, "Attack the stone statues on the wall behind you! Hua!" As soon as these words came out, the hearts of the Heavenly Mystery Palace disciples outside the formation were all shocked. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, flashing with a touch of purple lightning. Without any hesitation, Chu Hen raised a biting cold sword momentum, charging towards a giant steel-armored earth dragon pouncing at him from behind. That earth dragon swung its giant claws at Chu Hen. The sharp claws were like sharp hooks, whoosh, tearing through the air, just as the opponent's claws were less than 2 meters away from Chu Hen. Crack! A string of rapid lightning arcs appeared in the air. Chu Hen suddenly burst out with even more astonishing speed, instantly dodging the opponent's giant claws. The formless emperor blade in his hand interweaved with endless, beautiful lightning. Bang! In the next moment, lightning flashed, shaking the sky. Chu Hen wielded his sword, firmly striking the center of that steel-armored earth dragon's giant body, without the slightest pause. Accompanied by a rain of blood and flesh, Chu Hen directly pierced through the opponent's body. In front of Chu Hen's lightning momentum, the copper-like steel armor was as fragile as a thin piece of paper. Roar! A mournful roar came from behind, but Chu Hen did not have any intention of turning around. In the void, he continuously leaped and flashed, like a shadow, flashing with the fastest speed to the edge of the giant tower's wall. Whoosh! Waves of air trembled. He swung his sword. An earth-shattering sword light that spanned over 1,000 feet slashed across the sky and landed on the dark wall. Bang, bang, bang! When Chu Hen's sword descended, it was as swift and fierce as a rainbow. The terrifying lethality instantly caused the hundreds of stone statues in the square to shatter into pieces. Thousands of fragments splashed and exploded. A square space immediately appeared on the wall of the huge tower. Then, along with the destroyed stone statues, something surprising happened. The number of giant beasts attacking the 2 of them in the pagoda suddenly decreased by a large amount. Like shattered ice crystals, they scattered into dust, fluttering in the air. There was a connection between the 2. Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Continue. Destroy as much as you can. Old Een Monkey shouted. Understood. Following that, Chu Hen, one move after another, continuously unleashed thunderous sword moves that were like a storm. Like a divine punishment, sword chi filled the air, one after another. Purple sword beams that could cleave the heaven and earth wantonly hit the surrounding walls. Boom! Bang! A series of chaotic sword chi splashed wherever the peerless sharpness of the formless emperor blade went. A large number of stone statues turned into dust. The square on the wall was quickly swept clean. One after another, the fierce beasts in the tower, as if they were under the body-fixing spell, turned into dust and dissipated. Without a doubt, the speed of clearing the fierce beasts in the formation was too fast. A casual sword strike could kill dozens or even hundreds of fierce beasts. However, when the people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace outside the Wanxiang Formation saw Chu Hen being so cruel and ruthless, they all shook their heads and sneered, their faces revealing a bit of playfulness. Sure enough, you can't get too close to people like Hanyu, you'll be tricked to death. Ha ha ha! After today, this friend from afar will probably have to cut off all ties with Hanyu. That's right, as his friend, it really is too pitiful. And after Chu Hen had destroyed thousands of stone statues, suddenly, the inside of the giant tower suddenly shook with an unprecedentedly powerful spatial rhythm. Ayo! Woo! In an instant, the stone statues on the other walls all exploded with especially dazzling light. Every stone statue's eyes flickered with an incomparably fierce aura. It was as if an ancient evil creature that had been sleeping had been resurrected. Accompanying the ominous evil aura that hid the sky and covered the earth, balls of light shockingly appeared around Chu Hen. Every ball of light was filled with an extremely cold aura. Then, countless ferocious beast shadows directly surrounded Chu Hen. Among them, there were a few spirit giants wearing armor, but their bodies and limbs were like green flames. Chu Hen's expression changed slightly. Even he faintly felt his scalp go numb. Shing! Without giving Chu Hen the slightest chance to recover, a few giant guards wearing armor with dark green flames inside raised their sharp spears and attacked Chu Hen. The air was torn apart. The spear light was like rain. It emitted a murderous aura that was colder than any fierce beast. Chu Hen's heart was slightly startled. He raised his hand, and a swift and fierce sword aura met the incoming attack. Clang! The sharp rain of spear light and the thunder and lightning sword energy collided. The mighty and powerful air waves stacked wantonly, and the chaotic shock waves spread all over the sky. Together with the shattered sword energy, the thousands of spear shadows fell with the power of wind and thunder. So strong! Chu Hen was shocked and quickly turned into a beam of afterimages to dodge. But just as he dodged the attack of the spear light, a dark, blue poisonous scorpion stinger behind him like a chain across the sky. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes slanted, and he slashed backhand with his sword. Ding! With a crisp sound, a series of sparks splashed in the air. At the same time that Chu Hen bounced off the poisonous scorpion stinger, his arm was also faintly numb. What level of monster was this? Chu Hen's expression changed again and again. The strength gap with those fierce beasts before was too big. They were not on the same level at all. In an instant, a series of incomparably fierce attacks began to target Chu Hen, all kinds of powerful forces like a tsunami, firmly suppressing Chu Hen's aura. On the other hand, old Een Monkey's side was still the same as before. The ones besieging him were all ordinary fierce beasts and guards, and the number of fierce beasts around him had decreased a lot. Chu Hen boy, hold on, old Een Monkey shouted. They were both inside the 10,000 elephant formation, but two completely different treatments. The people outside the 10,000 elephant formation were somewhat gloating. I guess that friend from afar must be feeling very wronged. Ha ha ha, get used to it. If I didn't cheat people, I wouldn't be called Hanyu. Why is it like this? At this time, Luo Mengchang turned to ask an unfamiliar Heavenly Mystery Palace disciple not far away. The Heavenly Mystery Palace disciple was obviously stunned. He did not expect Luo Mengchang to talk to him. Looking at the other party's devastatingly beautiful face, the disciple actually blushed a little and then stammered, It's the 10,000 elephant formation, a self-protection restriction. Protection restriction? Luo Mengchang raised her eyebrows, slightly, somewhat surprised. Yes, the 10,000 elephant formation is one of the most complicated formations in our sect. Although destroying those stone statues can speed up the process of breaking the formation, it will also trigger the protection restriction. The most powerful fierce beasts in the 10,000 elephant formation will appear in advance and then besiege the destroyer. Your friend was obviously tricked by Hanyu. The other party replied. Then, how can we break the formation? Luo Mengchang asked. Chapter 1568. Then, how do we break the formation? Luo Mengchang casually asked the Heavenly Mystery Palace disciple beside her. This. The Heavenly Mystery Palace disciple hesitated for a moment before replying. We have to find the array spirit. Formation spirit? Yes. Although Luo Mengchang was an outsider, the disciple did not put up his guard at all. Faced with her question, he blushed a little and felt a little uncomfortable. The formation spirit is hidden in those stone statues. As long as we destroy the formation spirit, we can break the formation. However, there are 9,999 stone statues in the 1,000 images formation. If we want to find the formation spirit hidden in them, it will be harder than ascending to the heavens. I see. Luo Mengchang nodded and smiled politely. Thank you, but I believe they'll find the formation spirit. She smiled sweetly, her eyes bright and clear. After she finished speaking, Luo Mengchang turned around and looked at the manifestation formation. As for the Heavenly Secrets Palace disciple, he stood there in a daze. His companions who were accompanying him surrounded him and teased him. Hee, what did she tell you? Brat, you're too bold. You've betrayed us and even revealed the secret of the 10,000 images array. A tall and skinny young man said. The young disciple's face reddened, and he hurriedly argued. Everyone knows how to break the array. Han, you also knows. How can you accuse me of being a traitor? Moreover, they were outside, not inside the array. It doesn't matter if they know. Oh, you're still quibbling. Look at you, your face is red. You're like this, just talking to someone. TSK, 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 how embarrassing. Don't talk about me. Let's watch them break the formation. There's no need to watch. There's no hope. I can see that Han Yu wants to use his friend to attract the main force while he looks for the formation spirit hidden in the stone statues. However, don't forget that once Han Yu starts attacking the stone statues, he'll trigger the manifestation formation's self-protection restriction. At most, he only has the time to destroy a few hundred stone statues. This amount of time is simply not enough to find the formation's spirit hidden inside, unless his luck is exceptionally good, and the formation spirit just happens to be hidden inside those few hundred stone statues. There was no lack of talented disciples in the Oracle Palace. Everyone immediately analyzed the Old Een Monkey's plan. In fact, Old Een Monkey majored in the rune domain. In terms of actual combat experience and Wu Xiu's combat power, he was definitely inferior to Chu Hen. Relying on his powerful combat ability, Chu Hen only managed to destroy close to 1,000 stone statues. In the blink of an eye, he fell into the encirclement of many even more powerful beasts. With the Old Een Monkey's ability, he might not reach Chu Hen's level. Bang! Waves of qi spread out, wantonly venting. Chu Hen finally felt the pressure. Previously, he was able to kill several demonic beasts with a single slash, but now he no longer had the ability to do so. The demonic beasts that surrounded him were not only exceptionally powerful in their attacks, but their defenses were also shockingly strong. Although he could still get rid of 1 or 2 ferocious beasts, Chu Hen gradually began to attack less and defend more. Bang! An incomparably cold and powerful sword aura stacked up. The formless emperor blade in Chu Hen's palm blossomed with thousands of brilliant lightning rays. With a single slash, the condensed spear radiance in front of him shattered. Then the sword radiance, like a rainbow piercing through the sun, instantly smashed the armored ghost giants into pieces. However, without waiting for Chu Hen to catch his breath, a lizard covered in red scales behind him opened its mouth. Hua! An earth-shattering wave of qi roasted the space, and a magma-like fireball whizzed over. Chu Hen's complexion changed. He immediately turned around and used the formless emperor blade to block in front of him. Boom! The heat wave soared to the sky, and the big and small fireballs exploded like a rain of flowers. The terrifying impact directly blasted Chu Hen away. Bang! The endless rain of fire splashed down, and Chu Hen's back heavily hit the cold and solid wall of the giant tower. Whoosh! Whoosh! A rapid and sharp tearing sound of air waves came, and a few giant octopus tentacles swept towards Chu Hen like heavy iron chains. Chu Hen's pupil shrank, and he hurriedly slapped the wall and immediately bounced out. Bang! The incomparably ferocious tentacle solidly smashed onto the wall. Waves after waves of vigorous and vast qi waves swept out, shaking Chu Hen to the point that the blood and qi in his body churned. How much longer? I can't hold on much longer. Chu Hen shouted. Hee, it's done. The Old Een Monkey let out a somewhat complacent laugh. As his voice fell, the Old Een Monkey's eyes flashed with a cold light, and a bright and beautiful rune suddenly shone from between his eyebrows. Along with the vast Reiki energy that poured out like a tsunami, the Old Een Monkey put his palms together, and an extraordinary aura was released from his body. That is, The people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace on the square outside the giant tower were shocked. In the next moment, with the Oldine monkey at the center, an extremely luxurious and dazzling mysterious glyph formation appeared without any warning. The glyph formation spanned 100 feet, and lines of ancient spirit, vine-like runes were connected from front to back, end to end. Secret scrolls of various sizes were like flowing springs, shining brightly. When did he set up the glyph formation? The people outside were astonished. This guy? Buzz. The space uneasily twisted and swayed. The Oldine monkey in the center of the glyph formation was like a shaman controlling a divine wheel. Humph, Lousy's big move is coming. Hua! The Oldine monkey opened his palms, and a vigorous and sharp aura swept out in all directions. In an instant, the glyph formation that spanned 100 feet suddenly burst out with a boundless sharp aura, and one could only see rays of golden light bursting out from within. Shing! The sound of sharp weapons trembling was especially intense, and the light and shadow that rose into the sky rapidly transformed into sharp divine swords. Evil punishing, sword formation. The Oldine monkey loudly shouted. A dense killing intent instantly filled the sky and the earth, attacking the entire Wanxiang formation. A dense rain of swords soared into the sky, sweeping up a storm of killing power. Hiss! Chi! One demonic beast after another was pierced through by the golden rain of swords and crushed to pieces. It tore the wind and split the air, stunning beyond compare. The sword river that was like a rain of light was unstoppable. Everywhere it went, a rain of blood danced, and the vicious beasts wailed. The powerful vicious beasts and evil beings that surrounded Chu Hen did not even have time to react before the endless sword lights attacked. One after another, the huge bodies of the beasts were turned into sieves. The countless divine swords under the control of the Oldine monkey set off a myriad of killing divine might. After mercilessly killing the vicious beasts in the formation, the Oldine monkey's eyes focused, and he immediately changed his hand seals. Buzz! Following the waves of sword cries, the sword rain that could topple mountains and overturn the seas actually flew together, explosively attacking the squares on the walls. Bang, bang, bang! The continuous heavy explosions were like fireworks exploding. The terrifying sword rain formed a river, washing all the way up. A large number of stone statues shattered into dust. Layer after layer, the stone statues on the walls were quickly destroyed. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 2,000 to 3,000 of them. Shock! Shock! Looking at the scene in the Wanxiang formation, everyone from the Heavenly Mystery Palace widened their eyes, feeling extremely surprised. It's actually the evil punishing sword formation. Isn't Han Yu too daring? What a madman! The disciples of the Heavenly Mystery Palace all knew that the evil punishing sword formation was a pure killing rune technique. The runes that this formation needed were mainly of the destruction attribute. This also meant that when setting up the evil punishing sword formation, there could not be the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the repulsive effect produced by the runes would be enough to take the Oldine monkey's life. Inside the Wanxiang formation, the situation was extremely chaotic. Almost no one would choose to set up such a dangerous rune technique, especially for an alternative like the Oldine monkey, who liked to play with fire. It was even easier for him to lose himself at any time. However, not only did the Oldine monkey successfully complete this rune technique, it was also without anyone noticing. The most important thing was that the Oldine monkey had purposely arranged the wrong rune technique to deal with the fierce beast's attacks. To be able to correctly create the evil punishing sword formation under such a deliberate mistake, anyone could not help but be amazed by the Oldine monkey. Just how much proficiency did he have to be to dare to mess around like this? At this moment, even the third elder secretly shook his head and sighed. If this bastard can return to the right path, he can be considered a genius with extraordinary talent. It's a pity that he only wants to walk the unorthodox path all day long. The Oldine monkey was a genius. Anyone with a discerning eye could see it. But sometimes the other party was also a complete madman. Boom! Bam! In the blink of an eye, the terrifying rain of swords flattened thousands of stone statues. And at this moment, after a stone statue on the west side of the gigantic tower exploded, a scarlet-red halo of light flew out from within. The halo of light was like a ball of flame specter, illusory and ethereal like mist. It's the formation spirit. Chapter 1569. 1 second to remember. Wonderful pop-up window free reading. It's the formation spirit. Looking at the ball of flame that flew out of the stone statues, the people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace outside the Wanxiang Formation were shocked. The power of the evil extermination, sword formation, could not be underestimated. It destroyed thousands of stone statues in an instant, and the large-scale bombardment directly forced out the formation spirit of the Wanxiang Formation. Not good. Han Yu is going to break the formation. Yes, his friend delayed him for too long. I really don't want to see this guy stay. Under the different gazes of the people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace, the Oldine monkey within the Wanxiang Formation gathered his aura. His serious expression was completely devoid of his usual frivolous and disdainful expression. Standing within the evil extermination sword formation, his piercingly cold eyes stared at the ball of flame that was like a red spirit. The previous few times, you've caused me so much trouble. Let's see how you escape this time. Whoosh! A series of impassioned sword cries resounded through heaven and earth. The Oldine monkey clasped his hands together, forming a sword seal. Both of his index fingers pointed at the swaying formation spirit in the air. 10,000 evil extermination. In an instant, the sharp whistles of the sharp weapons tore through the sky. The tens of thousands of sword shadows that blotted out the sky immediately swept towards the red array spirit with an unparalleled killing aura. Whoosh! Whoosh! Waves of vigorous chi flowed through the 10,000 elephant formation, like deadly aurora shuttles. The terrifying sword force was like rain, and the formation spirit had nowhere to hide. Hiss! Countless illusory sword lights crisscrossed and struck on the body of the formation spirit. Its misty body was like the broken shadow of a lake that had been minced. It was quickly cut into pieces. Then it was smashed into pieces. In the end, it turned into fragments that filled the sky. He had succeeded. Looking at the broken formation spirit in the rain of swords, the people of the Heavenly Mystery Palace clenched their fists, their eyes filled with many complicated emotions. Most of them secretly shook their heads. He actually let Han Yu pass. This guy is going to be complacent again. There's no other way. First, the evil extermination sword formation is too strong. Second, his luck is not bad. There were about 2,000 to 3,000 stone statues left in the 1,000 elephant formation. This meant that this illusionary killing formation still possessed a very strong power. However, with the destruction of the formation spirit, the 10,000 elephant formation could no longer operate. If the array spirit was hidden in the remaining 2,000 to 3,000 stone statues, Oldine Monkey would not be able to break the array. Therefore, a small part of it was luck. Wait a minute, look inside. Just when everyone thought that the 1,000 elephants array was about to stop, a surprised voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. What? The 10,000 elephants formation is still in operation. What? Everyone in the room was shocked. Roar! Woo! A series of ferocious roars shook the 10,000 elephant formation. Immediately after, balls of dazzling light appeared in the huge tower that had been cleared by the evil extermination sword formation. Along with the burst of dazzling light, a vigorous and clear evil aura immediately filled the entire interior space of the giant tower. F*CK, you guys are messing with me again. Old Een Monkey's expression changed greatly. Before he finished speaking, 100-meter-long beast with a bull's head and a wolf's body leaped into the air above Old Een Monkey's head and opened its bloody mouth. Buzz, a spiral of black light gathered in its mouth and instantly turned into a ball of energy with a diameter of more than 10 meters. Whoosh! A fierce gust of wind surged down, and Old Een Monkey's pupils rapidly shrank to the size of a needle. Boom! An incomparably heavy explosion sounded out, and the ground rapidly caved in and cracked. Even the dazzling array under Old Een Monkey's body that had been destroyed was sent flying by a huge force. Bang! Old Een Monkey heavily hit the wall behind him. Immediately his internal organs trembled and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. "You shameless things, you're clearly messing with me." Old Een Monkey opened his mouth and cursed. And outside the 10,000 elephant formation, everyone from the Heavenly Mystery Palace subconsciously turned to look at the third elder. But they saw that the other party's expression was especially calm. Very obviously, this result was within the third elder's expectations. That's not the formation spirit? Or could it be that the key to breaking the formation is not at that point? Oh my God! His methods are a bit ruthless. The surprise seemed to have come somewhat unexpectedly. Everyone who was disappointed that Old Een Monkey had successfully broken the formation immediately became excited. Very obviously, the higher-ups of the Heavenly Mystery Palace clearly wanted to expel Old Een Monkey from the sect. Roar! A large number of ferocious beasts and evil beings once again filled the tower. Old Een Monkey fell into a heavy encirclement. The powerful evil energy was like a mountain torrent and tsunami. One by one, the ferocious beasts charged towards Old Een Monkey, causing him to fall into a hopeless situation. At the same time, the third elder also slowly raised his arm. I announce that the formation has failed. However, just as the third elder was about to announce the result, Old Een Monkey suddenly shouted, "Chu Hen Brat, I can't hold on any longer. Have you found the formation spirit? Have you found the formation spirit?" Towards Old Een Monkey's sudden question, everyone's heart was once again shocked. Hua! It was also at this time that on the other side, Chu Hen, who was also surrounded by many vicious beasts, unexpectedly released a majestic and monstrous aura without any warning. Found it. Whoosh! The invisible and powerful aura caused everyone's heartstrings to tremble. Swish! The moment his words fell, Chu Hen flipped his palm and the formless emperor blade in his hand shot out like a beam of light. The sharp sword shadow dragged a condensed wave of air through the gaps of the beasts and rushed to the outer area. Flying immortal flash, whoosh! After images flashed in the air as Chu Hen disappeared from his original spot like a ghost. In the next moment, he immediately followed the formless emperor blade and rushed out of the encirclement of the beasts. Screech! A sharp wave of air vibrated. Chu Hen's eyes, which were as black as ink, suddenly exploded with a demonic purple light. A strong spatial rhythm appeared in the depths of his pupils. Roar! Along with the purple flames that burned the sky, a huge demonic flame dragon bathed in fire appeared, setting off a majestic momentum as it directly pounced towards the area behind the many demonic beasts. Sacred demonic pupil physique. The third elder's expression changed. Many disciples of the Heavenly Mystery Palace were also shocked. It's actually one of the 10 strongest bloodlines, the demonic pupil physique. This person has a powerful background. Under many shocked gazes, the huge dragon shadow condensed from the purple demonic flame swooped down. Its target was a white demonic beast that was less than 100 meters tall. The demonic beast's body was similar to that of a leopard cat, with sharp claws and vertical pupils. It did not look particularly eye-catching. Woo! Looking at the demonic flame dragon shadow swooping down, the leopard cat opened its mouth and directly spat out a lightning-shaped, golden light blade. Clang! Like a lightning bolt, the lightning blade slanted across the sky, sweeping up a terrifying destructive force and attacking the demonic flame dragon's neck. In an instant, the demonic flame dragon was immediately cut in two. Then, with a bang, the purple fireballs that filled the sky exploded, covering the sky and covering the earth with purple waves of air. However, at the same time that the demonic flame dragon exploded, a strange black shadow rushed out from the waves that were flying all over the world. That strange shadow was a tree trunk. Its 4 limbs were beast claws. Its head was an umbrella-shaped crown. It's a talisman beast. It's a talisman beast. The square outside the 1,000 Elephants formation was once again filled with exclamations. He actually has another talisman beast? Screech! The talisman beast let out a shrill cry as it flew towards the leopard cat beast. At the same time, its body rapidly expanded, instantly turning into a beast that was hundreds of meters tall. It was a close call. The pace of the situation was so fast that it was suffocating. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh! Just as the talisman beast had not touched the leopard cat beast, the ground below cracked inch by inch, and a huge octopus tentacle sprang out like vines. The extremely powerful tentacles were as fast as lightning, directly intercepting the talisman beast and quickly entangling its body. Just a little more. All the disciples of the Heavenly Mysteries Palace clenched their fists. Twists and turns, time and time again. The reversal had already gripped everyone's mind. However, the moment the talisman beast was about to fall into the encirclement of the many vicious beasts, its black, abyss-like mouth suddenly opened. A dreamy space appeared, distorting. Buzz, buzz! Then an ancient black stone tablet emitting a boundless aura was spat out from the talisman beast's mouth. That was... Everyone's expression changed again and again. Even the 3rd elder of the Heavenly Mysteries Palace widened his eyes. Rumble! The rumbling of wind and thunder overlapped. The ancient black stone tablet flickered with beautiful mysterious runes as it descended towards the white leopard cat demonic beast with the power to suppress evil. A terrifying power crushed down. The white leopard cat's vertical pupils rapidly shrank to the size of a needle. The divine stone suppressing the array spirit. The great Tao breaks 1,000 elephants. Under countless gazes filled with disbelief, the ancient stone instantly transformed into a divine tablet that was hundreds of meters tall. Then it firmly pressed down on the white leopard cat demonic beast's body. Bang! An incomparably violent and heavy explosion reverberated in all directions, like an unshakable, world-shaking seal. The huge figure of the white leopard cat beast was directly smashed into pieces by the terrifying destructive power. Like a chain reaction, the other malevolent giant beasts within the 1,000 elephants array also suffered a terrifying impact. One by one, they exploded into countless fragmented energy patterns. Chapter 1570. The divine stone suppresses the formation spirit. The great Tao shatters all phenomena. Boom! Bang! Within the myriad phenomenon formation, the heavens and earth split apart, mountains and seas roared. All sorts of violent shock waves were like terrifying hurricanes that wreaked havoc in the sky, assaulting the interior of the great formation. At this moment, everyone in the myriad phenomenon square widened their eyes, their expressions changing, incomparably shocked. Rumble! In the next moment, a monstrous and terrifying wave of air swept out in all directions from the center of the myriad phenomenon square. The towering tower that stood in front of everyone, towering in the clouds, directly exploded from the center, instantly disintegrating and shattering into pieces. Boom! The incomparably powerful and condensed shock waves swept out along the ground of the square, fierce gales sweeping in all directions, along with the people who were blown back. The 5 high-ranking elders of the Heavenly Mystery Palace were also directly shaken back, their eyes gloomy, their expressions especially unsightly. The entire place was silent. Everyone's heart could not calm down for a long time. It really was full of twists and turns. First, the old monkey used the evil killing sword formation to strangle the formation spirit, mistakenly causing people to think that the formation had been successfully broken. But the person who set up the formation had intentionally changed the ending. Who would have thought that Chu Hen would once again find the true location of the formation spirit? But the talisman beast almost fell, making people feel that it was a pity. However, at the last moment, the ancient stone tablet that the talisman beast spat out directly crushed the entire myriad phenomenon formation. Reversal. Another reversal. As a result, everyone's hearts were rising and falling like the tide. The giant tower formed by the myriad phenomenon formation no longer existed. In the large central area of the square, there were only Chu Hen, the old monkey, and the mysterious stone tablet that exuded a simple and unadorned aura. Ha ha ha. Sitting paralyzed on the ground, the old monkey laughed unbridledly with incomparable satisfaction. You bunch of rotten old men, simply too evil. I knew you would trick me. You didn't think that lousy was already prepared, right? Ha ha ha. Satisfying, ha ha. The old monkey unceremoniously mocked, loudly. Then he gave Chu Hen a thumbs up. Chu Hen brat, I really didn't misjudge you. Well done, ha ha ha. Seeing the old monkey's incomparably proud attitude, the entire Heavenly Mystery Palace had no choice but to accept the fact that the other party had successfully broken through the Wanxiang array. Those who had been mocking him earlier had all shut their mouths. No one even said that they were lucky. There was no luck involved at all. Furthermore, it was much more difficult than he had imagined. Whether it was the old monkey completing the evil slaying sword formation in that chaotic situation, or Chu Hen accurately finding the array spirit the last moment, it was not something that luck could achieve. Are you hurt? Luo Mengchang also walked to Chu Hen's side and asked with concern in her eyes. Chu Hen shook his head slightly as a gentle smile appeared on his face. A few sighs could be heard from the crowd outside the arena. Previously, many people were secretly mocking Luo Mengchang, dissatisfied with the fact that she had taken a fancy to Chu Hen, who was not outstanding at all. Now, it seemed that they had misjudged her. Chu Hen pulled Luo Mengchang's lily-white hand and walked to old monkey's side. You can still stand up? Hee, it's a small matter. Old monkey's eyes were shining, and his entire body was emitting a smug aura. He crawled up from the ground and brushed off the dust. Although our cooperation was flawless, your performance at the end was really perfect. I almost thought that we wouldn't be able to pass. Chu Hen smiled. You've already given me such an important task. Of course I have to do my best. Not bad, not bad. We'll help each other, hee. Regarding the conversation between Chu Hen and old monkey, the people of Heavenly Mystery Palace could not help but scratch their heads. In fact, before old monkey decided to cooperate with Chu Hen in breaking through the Wanxiang array, the two of them had already had a serious exchange. Senior, how confident are you? On the way to the Wanxiang Square, old monkey and Chu Hen were walking in front and talking in detail. Luo Mengchang followed behind them and did not disturb them. If it was me alone, I wouldn't have any confidence. This was old monkey's answer. Oh, to be honest, the Wanxiang array is actually not difficult to break. I just need to find the array spirit. However, those old fellows have a deep prejudice against me, so they will definitely have a backup plan. What backup plan? I'm guessing that even if I find the first array spirit, I probably won't be able to break the formation. If I'm not wrong, there's definitely a second array spirit hidden in the Wanxiang array. Therefore, when I break through the formation, I will attract the attention of those old fellows in a large area and find the first array spirit. And what you need to do is to use your pair of demonic eyes to find the second array spirit that's hidden in the back. This was the tactical distribution that the two of them had discussed earlier. He had to admit that old monkey was terrifyingly smart. He had even guessed the thoughts of the upper echelons of the heavenly mystery palace. He had used the evil slaying sword formation to destroy the stone statues wantonly, but in reality it was to create an opportunity for Chu Hen so that he would have enough time to find the location of the second array spirit. On the surface, it looked like Chu Hen was assisting Old Een Monkey. In reality, it was the other way around. Not only was it a battle between the abilities of the challenger and the one who set up the array, it was also a battle of wits and strategies. Without a doubt, this time, Old Een Monkey had the upper hand. Third Elder, are you all right? Old Een Monkey had a despicable expression on his face that was asking for a beating. Sorry, I don't want to laugh, but looking at your ashen old face, I can't help it. Ha ha ha! The corner of the third Elder's eyes twitched. He had the urge to slap Old Een Monkey into the ground, and it was the kind that couldn't even be dug out. The 5 Elders all had ugly expressions on their faces. They looked at each other, all of them filled with rage. As for the disciples of the Heavenly Mystery Palace, there was no need to mention them. What a sin! It's really a sin. What kind of sin has the Heavenly Mystery Palace suffered? I can't even get rid of this bastard. Sigh. It's the will of the heavens. I'll just stay away from him in the future. Amidst a wave of shaking heads and sighing, the crowd on the Wancheng Square left one after another. The third Elder let out a deep breath, suppressing the ball of anger in his stomach. In the future, stay away from those immortal talisman trees. If you dare to destroy another one, I won't let you off lightly. Right. Also, according to the agreement, all the restrictions on me have been lifted. Now I can go see the palace master. After saying that, Old Een Monkey turned around and raised his eyebrows at Chu Hen. Chu Hen boy, let's go. I'll bring you to see the Heavenly Mystery Great Hall. Chu Hen's eyes lit up. He looked at Luo Mingshang in surprise and nodded. Immediately, Chu Hen put away the black stone tablet in the center of the square and impatiently left the Wancheng Square with Old Een Monkey. Third Elder, you're lifting the ban on that scoundrel just like that? As they watched the 3 of them leave, the 5 Elders revealed expressions of unwillingness. This time they were determined to kick Old Een Monkey out of the Heavenly Mystery Palace. They didn't expect to go for wool and come home shorn. The 3rd Elder shook his head helplessly. What else can I do? Even the 5 of you couldn't stop him from breaking the formation. What else can I do? This. They looked at each other with cold faces. I didn't expect that kid to be from the Demonic Eye clan. If I knew, I would have targeted him. Sigh. I was too careless. But who is he? He has the Demonic Eye bloodline and a talisman beast? Was there news from the Midland that the War God Palace was destroyed by a young man with the Demonic Eye sacred body? That seems to be the case. Could that person be? It stirred up a great commotion. In an instant, the few of them could not help but squint their eyes, revealing a look of surprise. Heavenly Mystery Great Hall. This time, no one stopped Old Een Monkey. Protector Guan, who blocked the way, didn't show up either. That old Protector Guan is smart. He knew that I would scold him, so he didn't dare to come. Old Een Monkey was especially proud of himself after breaking through the 10,000 elephant formation. He swaggered as he walked. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang couldn't help but find it funny. Of all the people the 2 of them knew, only Mu Feng could compete with Old Een Monkey. If these 2 met in the future, no one knew who would be more shameless than the other. Old man, I'm here to see you. You should control those old guys. They're 2F** king cruel. Fortunately, I'm smart. Otherwise, I would have been played to death by them. Old Een Monkey directly led Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang up the stairs and into the palace. The huge palace was magnificent. It was luxurious yet simple, solemn yet solemn. The pillars and walls of the palace were engraved with many complicated and mysterious runes. There were also many strange beast patterns on it. They looked like the legendary ancient totems. At the top of the palace, the ancient throne room exuded a gloomy and cold aura. On the spacious stone chair, a figure wearing a plain robe sat there. It was an old man who looked to be in his 60s. He was neither tall nor thin, neither fat nor short. His hair and beard were white, and he held a runed scroll in his hand, even though the other party didn't reveal any aura. But at first glance, Chu Hen didn't have any doubts. This was a true expert. This person was the highest authority in the Heavenly Mystery Palace, and even the man with the highest status in the entire southern continent. Heavenly Mystery Palace Master, Mu Fei. Old man, I've brought you 2 friends. As Old Een Monkey spoke, he signaled Chu Hen with his eyes. Chu Hen faintly nodded his head. Shortly after, he respectfully went up and paid his respects. Junior Chu Hen pays his respects to the Heavenly Mystery Palace Master. Little girl Luo Mengchang pays her respects to the Palace Master. However, the figure in the palace didn't have much of a reaction and continued to read the scroll in his hand. Seeing this, Chu Hen continued, Palace Master, I've come here this time because I have a request. The other party still didn't answer. Old Een Monkey frowned and stepped forward. I say, old man, even if you're angry at me, you can't just ignore me? That's rude. Polite. These 2 people coming from the mouth of the old Een Monkey was inexplicably strange. To the others in the Heavenly Mystery Palace, this was definitely not something a human would say. At this moment, Mu Fei slowly closed the scroll in his hand, and a pair of imposing eyes fell on Chu Hen. I know why you're here. Chu Hen was startled. Back then, there was also a man with the surname Chu who brought his wife here. Mu Fei said calmly, Thank you, Tin Ran, Li Wushang, Pigeon King, Goat Village Rich Bro, and other brothers for your tips. The total amount of tips has exceeded 1 million chasing wave coins. This can be considered a small milestone in writing books for so many years. The subsequent plot is more difficult to write, but I'll try to add more in the next few days. I'm really grateful for everyone's support. Thank you. Chapter 1571. I know why you're here. Back then, there was also a man with the surname Chu who came here with his wife. Mu Fei raised her cold eyes. In the main hall, Mu Fei raised his eyes slightly. His tone was calm and indifferent, as if he had already seen through Chu Hen's intentions. Chu Hen's heart trembled when he heard Mu Fei's words. He clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with restlessness. Then, where did they go? Misty Heaven. Mu Fei slightly raised her head and replied, At that time, that man's wife was severely injured. He barged into my Heavenly Mystery Palace and forcefully opened the passage to the misty sky, bringing his injured wife inside. Very serious injuries. Hearing these words, Chu Hen's arm couldn't help but tremble. Luo Mengchang stepped forward and gently held Chu Hen's arm to calm his uneasiness. Why did they go to the misty heaven? Chu Hen asked in a deep voice. In order to find a way to save his wife and avoid the pursuit of his enemies. That man told me that if he saved his wife, he would return. But if he failed, he would leave this world with his wife. What about all these years? Chu Hen looked at Mu Fei nervously. However, the latter shook her head slightly. Ever since they went in, they never came out. Mu Fei stared at Chu Hen's slightly pale face. Before that man left, he told me that his son would find this place in the future. He left you 2 choices. Chu Hen was stunned. What are the 2 choices? One is to leave this place, and there might still be hope in your heart. The other is to enter the misty heaven, but you might suffer even more pain. Leave. Advance. It sounded like a very simple choice, but when he thought about the uncertain consequences, he felt as if he was stuck in a quagmire, unable to struggle. He continued to wait with hope, or face the consequences that he was even more unwilling to accept. No matter who it was, they would feel a wave of confusion. However, Chu Hen only hesitated for a moment before replying with incomparable determination. I want to go to the misty heaven. Are you sure? Mu Fei asked. Yes, I'm sure. In the face of Mu Fei's doubts, Chu Hen was particularly certain. Rather than waiting endlessly with uncertain hope, I'd rather face the reality that has already been decided. He saw the determination in Chu Hen's eyes. Mu Fei stood up, an invisible, majestic aura exuding from between his brows. That man asked me to tell you that no matter what the final outcome is, he hopes that you can accept everything that happens. Things did not turn out as he had imagined. Chu Hen didn't even say that he wanted to use the passage to the misty sky. This palace master of the mysterious heavenly palace, whom he had never met before, seemed to know everything. Moreover, Chu Hen felt that the other party was an acquaintance of Chu Rontian's. They might even be friends. Pausing for a moment, Chu Hen's eyes overflowed with coldness. I still have a question. Who were the people who chased after my parents? As soon as he said that, Luo Mingshang and Old Yin Monkey, who was standing not far away, could not help but reveal solemn expressions. The three of them stared closely at Mu Fei's calm and dignified face. The latter looked into Chu Hen's eyes, his lips moving slightly as he replied faintly. You'll have to find the answer yourself. Chu Hen frowned slightly, wanting to say something, but hesitating. He could sense the apprehension in the depths of Mu Fei's eyes. Evidently he knew something, but chose to avoid it due to some sort of misgivings. After all, the matter back then was of great importance. It concerned two of the strongest sacred clans, and perhaps even more. Although the mysterious heavenly palace was the ruler of the southern continent, it was unwilling to interfere with the affairs of the 10 strongest sacred clans. Chu Hen understood this as well. There was no need to ask further. Even if he asked, Mu Fei wouldn't tell him. The other party had unconditionally allowed him to go to the misty sky. This was already a great friendship. Half an hour later, under Mu Fei's lead, Chu Hen, Luo Mengchang, and the Old Yin Monkey walked into a peculiar forest. The towering trees were flickering with a myriad of mysterious and gorgeous talismans. The huge canopies of the trees were like huge umbrellas, and every single leaf was like a diamond hanging on the branches. When the cool breeze blew past, they emitted a wave of soft chimes that sounded like silver bells. The forest was made of immortal talisman spirit trees. It was absolutely unimaginably grand and luxurious. In the entire world, only the mysterious heavenly palace could spend so much money to plant such a treasure into a forest, covering the hillsides and streams. The group walked on the stone path in the forest. The atmosphere was rather quiet. Even the chatterbox, Old Yin Monkey, was somewhat silent. He was very surprised that Mu Fei would agree to Chu Hen so easily. From the simple conversation before, Old Yin Monkey could more or less understand Chu Hen's purpose. Coupled with the news of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan, Old Yin Monkey couldn't help but feel a little worried for Chu Hen. Directly passing through the immortal talisman forest, the group reached the center. Then, a vast square platform appeared before everyone's eyes. The platform was built in a rather grand manner, with jade railings and stone pillars around it. In the center of the platform, there was a spring. Dense golden mist rose from the spring, and in the spring the largest immortal talisman spirit tree stood in the center of the forest. Chu Hen's eyes slightly trembled. The immortal talisman spirit tree in front was at least 5,000 to 6,000 meters tall. It was incomparably lush and gorgeous, like a huge divine bird's nest. An incomparably vigorous natural aura and talisman power continuously spread out, making one unconsciously feel relaxed and happy. This immortal talisman spirit tree is 10,000 years old and is our sect's treasure, Old Yin Monkey explained in a low voice. Chu Hen nodded slightly, expressing his amazement. Below the 10,000-year immortal symbol spirit tree, there were 2 elders seated. The elder on the left was dressed in white and was slightly plump. The elder on the right was dressed in black and had a thin face. Seeing Mu Fei and the others arrive, the two old men slowly opened their eyes, revealing a sharp glint in their eyes. Palace Master has personally come. Is there something important? The white-clothed elder asked softly. Mu Fei placed her hands behind her back and turned to look at Chu Hen. Then she nodded. I need to open the spirit formation gate to the misty sky. Oh. The two elders were somewhat surprised. After looking at each other, the black-clothed elder's voice was slightly cold as he said, Palace Master, have you considered the consequences of opening the misty sky passage? Mu Fei nodded slightly. I've considered it very clearly. Then are you willing to bear all the consequences? Yes. Listening to the conversation between Mu Fei and the two, Chu Hen could not help but clench his fists, a complicated expression surging in his eyes. Previously, he had heard old Een Monkey explain the pros and cons of the matter. Perhaps opening the passage to the misty sky was not difficult. What he was truly worried about was the consequences of the instability of the various factors after opening it. Since that's the case, then there's no need for us to say anything more. Finished speaking, the two elders' eyes instantly turned cold, a strange rune light exploding from their pupils. Buzz! Immediately after circle of resplendent rune spirit vines spread out along the platform beneath them. At the same time, the 10,000-year immortal talisman spirit tree behind the two suddenly swayed with countless threads of light, swirling energy patterns. The dreamlike light swirls were like layers of veils dancing around the immortal talisman spirit tree. An urgent, piercingly cold air suddenly rose. The enormous immortal talisman forest was startled by waves of intense spatial fluctuations. Rumble! The sky above the immortal talisman forest quietly darkened. Storms gathered, and the black clouds were like a rotating giant millstone, enveloping the top of the heavenly mystery palace. What's going on? What happened? I don't know. The entire heavenly mystery palace was alarmed. Pairs of bewildered gazes stared at the sky above the dense forest of immortal talisman spirit trees. Countless white, mist-like spirals of light rose from the many immortal talisman spirit trees, converging in the sky. The storm whirlpool that gathered above became more and more intense. Even the star-like rune light embellished and flickered in the air. The space within the storm that was enveloped by the black clouds began to distort and shatter. Buzz! A ripple of energy that caused the universe to tremble swept out. In that instant, a spirit formation wheel of light that spanned tens of meters appeared in the distorted and shattered space. It was like the gate of heaven opening that descended upon the world. The spirit formation passage that was covered in mysterious runes slowly rotated. Then a vortex gap that emitted an endless dark aura opened. Chapter 1572. Buzz. Buzz looking at the mysterious and beautiful barrier wheel that appeared above the forest of immortal talisman trees. The entire heavenly mystery palace was shocked. Under Chu Hen's gaze that was filled with fear and expectation, the spirit formation passage that was like the gate of the heavens and was covered with mysterious runes slowly opened. Was this the entrance to the misty sky? 3 days at most. Heavenly Mystery Palace Master Mu Fei turned around and looked at Chu Hen. With our abilities, we can only last for 3 days at most. Once we exceed this limit, the passage to the misty sky will automatically close. If we want to open it again, we will have to wait for a very long time. During this time, I will not be able to touch anything that happens inside. Chu Hen nodded solemnly. I'll have to trouble you. Furthermore, Mu Fei's expression revealed a lot of seriousness. The misty sky realm is not stable and can even be said to be very fragile. A spatial storm can occur inside at any time and cause the realm to collapse. Although most of the spatial collapses are small, you must not let your guard down. If you are sucked into the spatial storm, even if you are at the Emperor realm, your body and spirit will be destroyed. Hearing Mu Fei's incomparably serious tone, Chu Hen's eyes could not help but overflow with some seriousness. All right, this junior will remember Palace Master's words. With that, Chu Hen turned his gaze to Luo Mengchong. I'll go in alone. You stay here and wait for me. Even Emperor Realm experts did not dare to rashly step into the misty sky. It was definitely a dangerous place. Chu Hen naturally did not want Luo Mengchong to take the risk with him. However, Luo Mengchong firmly shook her head, her lily-white hand grabbing onto Chu Hen's wrist. I want to go with you. It's too dangerous inside. Wait for me here. Be obedient. Chu Hen said with a gentle gaze. Luo Mengchong's spirit eyes were clear, rippling with a beauty that could topple cities. I won't listen to you this time. No matter what you say, don't even think of getting rid of me. Cough, cough. Not far away, old Een Monkey's small eyes slanted. I say, don't abuse the dogs. It wasn't like they were going to be separated by life and death. He just had to be more careful in the misty heavens. Try not to cause a large-scale explosion. If you encounter a spatial collapse, just turn around and run. I've even sneaked in once before. As soon as the old Een Monkey finished speaking, several sharp, sword-like gazes focused on him. The Heavenly Mystery Palace's palace master, as well as the two elders on the platform, all had expressions of hatred on their faces. Seeing this, the old Een Monkey coughed twice. Then he laughed dryly at Mu Fei. I was just curious. You've been to the misty sky before. Chu Hen was a little surprised. Old Een Monkey's eyes turned, and he turned towards Chu Hen, nodding his head in a small voice. A long time ago, when the security here wasn't so strict, I snuck in once. But not long after I entered, I encountered a spatial collapse. I was so scared that I turned around and ran out. Because of this, I was hung up and beaten by these old fellows for a few days, and a layer of my skin peeled off. Listening to the other party's words, Chu Hen was also speechless. He had indeed underestimated the extent of the old Een Monkey's sins. There was really no place in this world that he did not dare to go. It was also because of the old Een Monkey's actions that the security here was extremely strict. Other than the palace master himself, no one else was allowed to approach. It's getting late. You two should hurry up, Mu Fei said. After all, supporting the opening of the domain passage required a huge amount of energy. Any delay would be a great loss. Chu Hen turned around and nodded his head. Why don't I go with them? I'm a little familiar with the road ahead. The old Een Monkey began to feel restless again. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong also looked at Mu Fei. However, the latter said to Chu Hen with deep meaning, After this trip, you two should stay away from him. After all, you're all normal people. I, Mu Fei, have been wise my whole life, but my biggest mistake in this life was to accept him as my personal disciple. Phut! The old Een Monkey angrily jumped up and cursed. Old man, am I not a normal person? You're not human. Uft. Luo Mengchong was immediately amused, and Chu Hen also smiled. They did not expect that the Heavenly Mystery Palace Master, who looked extraordinary and dignified, also had such a humorous side. This was enough to show the old Een Monkey's hateful and hair-raising, sinful ability. Then this junior will go first. Chu Hen cupped his fists towards Mu Fei and the old Een Monkey. Be careful. Chu Hen boy, look after your wife, the old Een Monkey said. Chu Hen looked at Luo Mengchong and felt helpless, but also a little warm in his heart. He grabbed Luo Mengchong's fair and slender little hand, and the two moved like ascending immortals riding the wind, heading straight for the barrier light wheel in the clouds above. Buzz, buzz. Bursts of intense spatial fluctuations spread out from the heaven-enlightening light wheel. The opening was dark, like a tunnel connecting to another world. The closer they got, the more they could feel the rapid cyclones originating from the inner space. A touch of determination flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. His grip on Luo Mingchang's hand tightened. Swish! Then the two turned into a beam of light and tunneled into the deep and mysterious spatial tunnel. The wind and cloud swirled, and air waves covered the sky. In the sky above the heavenly mystery palace, it was as if a huge millstone was rotating. The vast scene was as if the stars were moving. Looking at the two figures that seemed to have been swept into the eye of the storm, the heavenly mystery palace master Mu Fei sighed, his eyes surging with some indescribable deepness. On the Tao platform behind him, the expressions of the two elders, dressed in white and black, were also cold. The opening of the misty sky is not a small matter. Why did you agree to those two? The slightly plump elder in white asked in a low voice. Mu Fei nodded slightly, paused, and said, "Because he is Chu Rantian's son." What? In an instant, the two elders' pupils trembled, and their eyes unconsciously revealed traces of deep meaning. The world was spinning, and they couldn't tell east from west. At this moment, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang seemed to be in the eye of a storm on the surface of the sea, allowing the wanton attack of the spatial currents to pull them into the deeper depths of the vortex. The two seemed to have traveled through time and space, moving at an extremely fast speed. Around the tunnel, one could vaguely see the high-speed spatial turbulence. Chu Hen held Luo Mingchang's hand tightly, as if he was holding the most precious treasure, afraid that if he relaxed even a little, she would be swept elsewhere by the chaotic currents. Luo Mingchang's figure moved a little, looking at the sharp outline of Chu Hen's face, feeling the warmth of his palm. She also felt incomparably at ease. The trace of resentment hidden in her heart also disappeared at this moment. Whoosh! At this moment, a dazzling white light shrouded them like a curtain from the sky. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang's pupils shrank to the size of a needle, and their faces were also reflected white. The high-speed rotation of the space stealthily stabilized. Then, a cloud of dust and sand filled the sky, and the world of the Yellow Mountain suddenly reflected in the eyes of the two. Dusky yellow, barren. What appeared in front of them was a boundless desert of sand and wind. The sky was extremely heavy, and the setting sun could not be seen. Thousands of miles of the great wilderness, other than the murky sandstorm and the barren river of sand, there was not a single bright color in the entire world. Here, this is the misty sky. Chapter 1573. Yellow sand filled the air, and the sun couldn't be seen. Looking at the 1,000 miles of desert, looking at the dusty storm and the mountain-like sand river, Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang were like the only colors in the entire world. So this is ethereal sky. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed and his face was solemn, raising his head to look at the gray sky. The entire world was so dim that even the shadow of the setting sun couldn't be seen. Here, everything seemed to be in a state of nothingness. This is most likely just the entrance. There should be other worlds ahead. Luo Mingshang said softly. Chu Hen nodded. Follow me closely. Don't get lost. I know, my hand is about to be broken by you. Luo Mingshang smiled. Chu Hen couldn't help but smile. Let go after we pass the sandstorm. With such a large amount of yellow sand, I'm afraid you'll be gone by the time I turn around. You're exaggerating. Luo Mingshang was speechless. Let's go. After saying that, Chu Hen still held Luo Mingshang's hand, and the two of them directly stepped into the desert covered in yellow sand. There was no north or south, no east or west. The chaotic sandstorm covered the sky and earth, covering the sky and covering the earth. Chu Hen immediately released the power of his domain, protecting himself and Luo Mingshang within it. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were submerged within. Facing the sandstorm, the two of them stepped on the sand and moved forward. The hazy sky was dim yellow, and in the distant horizon, there seemed to be two blurry afterimages of the sun, like an illusion. but also like reality. Even though the two of them had reached the great Saint King realm, there were still many obstacles, and even flying in the air was a little difficult. 1,000 miles of nothingness. Everything was ethereal. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang leaned on each other and moved forward slowly. It was as if they were following the footsteps of Chu Rantian and his wife in this illusory world. Cloud World. Baidi City. The moon hung on the branches, and the sparrow flew south. The night sky that should have been decorated with stars was filled with an indescribable gloominess tonight. An elegant pavilion with a beautiful environment was very quiet. Not far away, the low cries of insects could be faintly heard from the flowers and grass. On the spacious walkway bench, a slender figure in a blue evening dress sat on the edge of a stone pillar. She buried her head between her legs and hugged her knees. Her silky long hair reached her waist. From afar, her lonely figure gave off an indescribable sense of loneliness and sorrow. At this moment, a warm hand gently comforted her back. The other party's heart skipped a beat. She slowly raised her head, revealing a breathtakingly beautiful face. Elder Qingyue. She called out softly, and her beautiful peach blossom eyes seemed to be in a trance. The middle-aged woman who was addressed as Elder Qingyue sighed softly. Then she sat down beside him and gently embraced Bai Qinyu like a mother. "You've lost a lot of weight recently." His words were filled with heartache. Bai Qinyu gently leaned on him, a faint smile on his lips. She closed her eyes and leaned in Elder Qingyue's arms like when she was a child. "Elder Qingyue, you're just like my mother. You can always make me feel warm when I'm sad, although I've never seen my mother before." Upon hearing this, Elder Qingyue's eyes welled up with tears. However, she was still smiling. "It's all your father's fault. If he was willing to marry me, you would be calling me mother right now. Yes, it would be great if my father was still alive." Bai Qinyu subconsciously tightened her arms around Elder Qingyue. "But my father isn't that lucky. Elder Qingyue, you should stop thinking about him and find a good man to marry." Elder Qingyue could not help but feel a little amused. She gently patted Bai Qinyu's back. "Time is a quack, but it can cure all diseases. Everything will get better." "Well said." Bai Qinyu clasped her hands together tightly and shrunk her head in Qingyue's arms. There were tears in her long eyelashes. "But I really miss him. Is this a debt owed by the previous generation? Is it a debt owed by the Holy Eye Saint clan to the demonic Eye Saint clan?" "What are you talking about? You're the almighty Miss Bai Qinyu. The number of Saint clan geniuses who you can form a queue from White Sovereign City to Midland. There are countless people who are better than him. What's there to miss?" "Yes, I'm the almighty Miss Bai Qinyu. I don't care about a bad man." Bai Qinyu muttered to herself. She seemed to be half asleep. "Bad man, I don't want to see you any more." Sigh. Elder Qingyue sighed again with tears in her eyes. "Elder Qingyue, I have a question." "What is it?" "Who sent me back?" Bai Qinyu sat up slightly and looked at Elder Qingyue with her beautiful, slightly red eyes. "Don't you remember?" Qingyue asked. "I don't remember." Bai Qinyu shook her head, and her eyebrows were filled with confusion. "At that time, I only felt a headache, and then I lost consciousness. I don't remember what happened after that. I vaguely felt that it was a woman. Is it someone I know?" Qingyue paused and smiled. "It's nothing. She's just someone who happened to pass by." "Then how did she know that I live in White Sovereign City? Who doesn't know your golden eyes?" Qingyue gently touched Bai Qinyu's forehead. "You've already developed an inner demon. Try not to run around outside in the future." Bai Qinyu touched her head and smiled. "It's not necessarily a bad thing to have an inner demon. Maybe I can be like my father, Emperor Bai, and control the power of the heart beast. I can become the new Holy Eye Emperor. The Holy Eye Emperor won't become so haggard for a bad man. To be honest, if you're still like this, I'll go and kill that brat. Go! It's good to kill him. Bai Qinyu raised her eyebrows and said playfully, "That's what you said. That's what I said. Kill him, and I'll find a better man to marry." Okay, then Elder Qingyue was about to leave, but before she could leave, Bai Qinyu pulled the corner of her clothes. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. Forget it. Anyway, I don't plan to see him anymore. Let him live well, Bai Qinyu said and looked elsewhere. Elder Qingyue shook her head helplessly. Elder Qingyue, look. What's that? Suddenly, Bai Qinyu pointed towards the boundless night sky. Elder Qingyue looked at the sky in the direction she was pointing. Like a black veil, the dark clouds had covered most of the stars. Not long ago, the normal crescent moon had quietly turned into a strange red. The dark, crimson crescent moon was like the half-opened eye of a prehistoric giant beast in the endless night sky. It was extremely mysterious and evil. This is... Elder Qingyue's expression changed slightly, and she could not help but clench her fists. The red moon has arrived. The sacred star will guard it. The red moon has arrived. The sacred star will guard it. Bai Qinyu's beautiful eyes flashed with doubt. Then, she raised her eyes and looked at Elder Qingyue in surprise. Could it be? That's right. Elder Qingyue looked at Bai Qinyu cautiously and said in a deep voice, "The Sacred Clan Conference is coming." Chapter 1574. Phew! The wind and sand filled the air, and the sandstorm blinded their eyes. It was as if they were passing through an endless sea of smoke and sand, walking through countless deserts. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang were like lost people in the yellow sand, unable to find their way back. In the case of not being able to distinguish between north and south, the two could only lean on each other and walk forward side by side. They crossed one desert after another, crossed one desolate mountain ridge after another. After an unknown period of time, the violent and chaotic wind finally showed signs of subsiding. Chu Hen could clearly feel that the surrounding wind was gradually weakening and becoming weaker. "We're going to cross this desert." Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Luo Mengchang also nodded in surprise. "Well, we've finally crossed this place." The further they went, the weaker the wind became. The turbid yellow sand that blotted out the sky and covered the earth also became clear. The two could not help but speed up their pace. Soon, the sandstorm was thrown to the back of his mind. A clear space was reflected in Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang's eyes. "We're finally out." Chu Hen took a deep breath and was willing to let go of Luo Mengchang's hand. Luo Mengchang did not find it funny. She gently shook her hands, only to find that her palms were sweaty. "Aren't you afraid that I'll lose it now?" "Well, this should be N." Before Chu Hen could finish his answer, he was directly shocked by the scene in front of him. Then Luo Mengchang was also stunned. This is... Both of their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. At this moment, the two of them were stepping on a hazy, chaotic area, like a vast cloud. However, in the sky of the continent of the 9 clouds, there were many mountains, valleys, and long rivers. This turned out to be an inverted world. The sky was under their feet. The earth was above their heads. The whole world seemed to be formed through the reflection of the water. It was real and fake, as if they were in some strange, mysterious realm. "Are we walking in the sky backwards?" Luo Mengchang asked in confusion. Chu Hen was also shocked and confused. This phenomenon was a little too strange. Heaven and earth were flipped over. However, they were not affected in the slightest. The misty sky is really an unusual place, the edge of the sea, the end of the world. This was the evaluation of the people in the outside world towards the misty sky. Some people even said that it was the intersection of several realms. Everything that happened here could not be explained with common sense. Even so, the two of them were still astonished. "It's really strange." Chu Hen's gaze trembled slightly as he looked around vigilantly. Luo Mengchang smiled lightly and gently held Chu Hen's hand. It's okay, I'm here. I will protect you. Chu Hen laughed involuntarily. His gaze revealed gentleness as he lightly held onto her delicate cheeks. My parents will be very happy to see you. Luo Mingshang's beautiful eyes were like clear ripples. She raised the corner of her mouth and replied with a smile, Then you have to introduce him properly when the time comes. Yes, my young lady Mingshang. Chu Hen smiled. Luo Mingshang blinked her big eyes and was also amused. Let's go. After saying that, the two of them held each other's hands and continued to walk forward. It was like the reversal of heaven and earth. The reversal of heaven and earth. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang seemed to be walking in the illusory clouds. The inverted mountains, rivers, peaks, and jungles above their heads also seemed extremely magical and dreamy. Because Luo Mingshang was by his side, Chu Hen's mood was relatively relaxed. However, under this relaxed appearance, the two of them were more or less worried and uneasy. After all, it was still unknown whether they could find Chu Rantian and Li Jixia, especially when Li Jixia was seriously injured back then. With faint uneasiness and strong expectations, the two of them continued to move towards the depths of the misty sky. It was as if they were stepping on the vast, endless universe and walking in an upside-down world. After an unknown period of time, as they continued to move forward, the scene in the sky quietly changed. Looking into the distance, in the boundless horizon behind the lush forest, there was actually an ancient mountain city. The ancient aura was transmitted from the sky, and it was so real that it did not seem like a false illusion at all. The two of them moved forward. The scene in the sky was also changing, from the mountains to the rivers, from the jungle to the ancient city. It made people increasingly feel that this world was unusual. Day and night changed. Darkness fell. Thousands of stars appeared in the vast void under Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang's feet. Countless stars dotted the road, covering the front, back, left, and right like dazzling diamonds. Look, there are shooting stars, Luo Mingshang said. Chu Hen also nodded in surprise. At this moment, he really felt that the two of them were walking in the night sky upside down. The beautiful starry sky was under their feet. The nebula that was usually difficult to observe now filled their eyes, exuding an excessively mysterious beauty. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang were like two small boats roaming in the vast sea of stars, piercing through the dazzling meteors in an instant. The crimson moon has arrived, and the sacred star will be guarded. It seems that the Sacred Race Conference will start soon. Mysterious heavenly palace, the peak of a giant mountain. Mu Fei placed his hands behind his back. A pair of eyes that revealed the majesty of a ruler looked at the mysterious blood moon that had appeared in the sky with a deep expression. Then Mu Fei turned to look at the east side of the mysterious heavenly palace. There, above the lush forest of immortal talisman spirit trees, the space passage that was like the gate of heaven was under the stable rotation of the nebula vortex. An endless stream of runes rose from within the immortal talisman spirit trees, supporting the connection to the misty sky. So many things have coincidentally gathered together. Is this the will of the heavens? At this moment, light footsteps came from behind. Old man, you came here in the middle of the night to think about life. The corner of Mu Fei's eyes turned cold, and she coldly replied, If you continue to be so disrespectful, I'll expel you from the mysterious heavenly palace. Hee, are you trying to scare me? That's enough. Old man, people say that I'm your illegitimate child. If you wanted to expel me, you would have done so long ago. Why wait until now? Old Ean Monkey had a despicable expression, holding a fragrant fruit in his hand and chewing on it wantonly. Mu Fei's face could not help but twitch. If I had an illegitimate child like you, I'd rather jump down from here and end it all. Then why don't you jump? It's your ability to fall to your death. Shameless. Mu Fei sighed. She didn't want to say another word and turned to leave. Wait, old man, I have something to ask you. You know Chu Hen's father, right? Don't worry about what you shouldn't. Don't do what you shouldn't. Mu Fei replied, From what you're saying, Chu Hen won't be able to find his parents this time. It's been so many years. If that Chu Ran Tian is still inside, he should have come out long ago. Mu Fei did not answer. He also did not want to pay attention to him. Which domain's distorted zone is the misty heaven? Old Een Monkey was not willing to let it go. Mu Fei paused, turned slightly, and said, I'm not sure, but there are a few places that are relatively close. Which ones? The God-forbidden blood prison, where the demon clan resides, the heart beast space that the 10 strongest sacred clans can sense, and the chaos abyss where the celestial emperor sealed the heretic god. These few domain planes are rumored to be relatively close to the misty heaven. They're all places of great danger. Old Een Monkey stopped nibbling on the spirit fruit in his hand, and his expression became somewhat serious. Isn't Chu Hen in a bit of danger now? Why do you say that? Mu Fei asked. Old Een Monkey hesitated for a moment, then answered solemnly, When I was at the Fortune Emperor Palace, I saw that Chu Hen's heart demon is unusually strong. Moreover, he has the bloodline of the demon pupil sacred clan, and has the power to sense the heart beast. If he's not careful, he'll probably go berserk. Hearing this, Mu Fei could not help but frown slightly. Looking at the crimson blood moon hanging high in the night sky, he could not help but fall into deep thought. Although those places of great danger are relatively close to the misty heaven, the space between them is not something that can be opened up by humans. As long as one has a firm will and guard one's heart, the heart demon will not be able to invade. But what if he encounters a space collapse? Old Een Monkey asked with a serious expression. It was obvious that he had thought of a series of unpredictable and serious consequences for Chu Hen. Mu Fei's eyes surged with some profound meaning. If that's the case, then the two of them won't be able to return. Chapter 1575. Day and night changed, and the universe was reversed. After a whole night of traveling in the starry sky, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang entered a hazy fog at dawn. I can't see my surroundings clearly again. Hold my hand tightly. Chu Hen reminded her. Got it. Luo Mengchang nodded obediently, her shoulder pressed tightly against Chu Hen's arm, and her 10 fingers clasped tightly together. Although the surroundings were hazy, the naked eye could see that they were less than 3 meters apart, but the two of them did not have the slightest fear in their hearts. In this illusory and mysterious world, Luo Mengchang was more like Chu Hen's pillar of support and support. He thought that the fog would last for a long time like the desert sandstorm before. However, in just about half an hour, the fog gradually thinned. Shrouded in the hazy mist, a stone bridge appeared in front of the two of them. There was no one around the bridge, and there was no water under the bridge. The stone bridge in the fog could only be seen in front of it, and the end could not be seen. There's a rhythm of power. Luo Mengchang said softly, Yeah. Chu Hen nodded, and a touch of emotion flashed in his eyes. Without much hesitation, Chu Hen held Luo Mengchang's hand and walked straight towards the ancient stone bridge. As they crossed the stone bridge, the surrounding fog gradually dissipated. When their vision became clear, the two of them also walked to the end of the stone bridge. Reflected in front of the two of them was a quiet jungle. The environment was quiet and picturesque. The trees in the jungle were not regular. Some are tall, some are short, some are thick, some are thin, but each tree was fluorescent, crystal clear, and dazzling. A winding spring ran through the forest, and in the distance a few handsome elk could be seen drinking by the stream with their heads down. A long path paved with stone slabs extended all the way to the depths of the jungle under the feet of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. In the shrubs and flowers on both sides of the road, there were spirit butterflies dancing. A clear spring passed through the forest, and beside the spring was a deer drinking stream. The stone path passed through the deep forest, and on the bank of the stream were flowers in love with butterflies. The color of the scenery was picturesque. It was like a different world from the yellow sandstorm they experienced before. The environment in front of them seemed to have returned to normal, but the sky above them was still an inverted landscape of mountains, rivers, cities, and forests. It was as if two different planes of space were overlapping. We're almost at the innermost part of the misty sky, right? Luo Mengchang said uncertainly. Probably. Chu Hen nodded. Since the Heavenly Mystery Palace Master Mu Fei had only given him 3 days, it meant that the misty sky space was not very big. Go. Chu Hen let out a deep sigh of relief. Together with Luo Mengchang, they stepped onto the stone path in front of them and walked straight into the jungle. When the two of them entered, a few deer by the stream bank looked up at them. There was no fear in their clear eyes. "You're not afraid of us," Luo Mengchang said. "Of course not. They don't really exist." Chu Hen replied, "Not real." Luo Mengchang was stunned, and then she focused and looked carefully, and a trace of surprise appeared in her clear eyes. "There's only the pulsation of energy, but there's no aura of life." "Yes." Chu Hen nodded in affirmation. "They're all spiritual bodies condensed from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered here. They only have bodies but no life." Although everything in this jungle was almost no different from real things, it could not be hidden from Chu Hen's demonic eyes. "All of them?" Luo Mengchang asked in surprise. "Yes, all of them. Trees, flowers, springs, streams, and all animals are spiritual bodies." "Unbelievable. Just what level of spiritual energy density is required for such a realistic spiritual body to be formed? It's indeed amazing." Chu Hen smiled, and the two of them continued forward. The jungle was very deep. It was also very quiet. Apart from the deer, there were other forest animals in the distance. For example, rats, rabbits, cows, snakes, and a few other strange demon beasts. Suddenly, a rather powerful wave of spiritual energy came from the front. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows, only to see that on the side of the stone path in front of him stood a spiritual body that was more than 10 feet tall. Unlike the other psionic bodies, this one was a giant armored guard. It held a cold spear in its hand. It exuded a biting cold aura. Its limbs were relatively clear, but its head was like a burning golden flame. Seeing Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang walk over, the golden flame head under the armor actually had 2 red eyes floating. "Who are you?" The deep voice was dreamy. It seemed to be coming from the mouth of a ventilation pipe. This spiritual body had a consciousness. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang looked at each other, and their hearts lit up. "You can actually speak?" Chu Hen stepped forward and said. The spiritual body did not answer, and its head tilted slightly, a little confused and a little confused. "Who are you?" After a pause, it repeated the sentence just now. "I'm looking for someone." Chu Hen hurriedly replied, and then asked, "Is there anyone else here?" "No, people," the other party answered without the slightest emotional fluctuation, and its voice was stiff and mechanical. "No one else?" Chu Hen's expression changed. Luo Mengchang clearly felt Chu Hen's arm tremble. She hurriedly comforted. "It's just a spiritual body without consciousness. It definitely doesn't know what we're asking." Chu Hen's expression softened a little, and he nodded. Go back." The giant guard said again, "Go back." Chu Hen was taken aback, and he looked behind the other party's huge body. The narrow stone path extended all the way to the deepest part of the jungle, and he did not know where it led. "What's behind?" Chu Hen asked with a hint of anxiety. The other party still did not answer. It just said, "Go back." After all, it was just a spiritual body. Even if it produced a trace of spiritual consciousness, it could only repeat these 2 sentences mechanically. "Go back." What was behind? Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and there was a flash of determination in his eyes. He immediately took Luo Mengchong around the giant guard's spiritual body in front of him and sped up their pace. They seemed to be getting closer and closer to that step. Chu Hen's heart was also getting more and more nervous. Soon, the two of them passed through the jungle derived from the spiritual body. When they walked to the end of the stone path, an ancient city appeared in front of them. It was a very desolate ancient city. The tall and majestic city tower seemed to have experienced the baptism of countless years, and even the words on the city wall were blurred. Although it was not in ruins, it had been through the vicissitudes of life. Above their heads, there was also an ancient city. It was as if two different worlds were overlapping, so much so that it made people wonder if a god had forcibly folded this world together, which was why such a shocking and mysterious scene appeared. Will it be inside here? Chu Hen muttered to himself. I think so, Luo Mengchong replied. Chu Hen smiled slightly, but there was an unconcealable worry in his eyes. Immediately, the two of them slowly stepped into the city. Like stepping through the passage of reincarnation, many years had passed, and the aura that had been sealed for a long time was quietly touched. In the city, it was desolate and empty. Chu Hen gritted his teeth. Looking at the empty streets, the quiet alleys, and the attics, he could not help but have thousands of spider webs in his heart. Adding on the fact that the space above his head was almost collapsing, Chu Hen could not help but feel an indescribable pressure. Don't worry, let's look for it, Luo Mengchong comforted him softly. She could clearly feel the sweat on Chu Hen's palms. She also knew that Chu Hen's heart was uneasy. The two of them walked on the deserted streets of the city, trying to search for traces of the existence of the predecessors. However, it seemed that there were only the two of them in the entire ancient city. They did not even see a spiritual body. Unknowingly, the two of them gradually walked into the central area of the ancient city. A particularly vast central square of the city appeared in front of the two of them, and in the middle of the square, a particularly spectacular and huge ancient tree directly entered the sight of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong. The old tree's roots were as strong as a horned dragon, extending in all directions, occupying an unknown amount of underground space. Above and below the tree, there were countless complicated runes and secret scrolls. Countless crisscrossing branches branched out, and the tree crown was especially huge, extending to a diameter of a few thousand meters. However, such a huge tree, there was not a single leaf. This is the immortal talisman spirit tree. Thanks to the Pigeon King brother for his 40,000 reward, the Rich Goat Village brother for his 10,000 reward, the Li Wushang brother for his 10,000 reward, and the Chasing Stars, Red Cheeks, and Immortal Song brothers for their rewards. These few days my brothers have been so ferocious in their rewards, and it has also made me feel a lot of pressure, especially since the updates have been slow these few days. After the Misty Sky storyline ends, it will be slightly easier to write. Right now, I can't guarantee that I can add more chapters, but after the Sacred Clan Conference begins, it will be faster. Brothers, please forgive me. Chapter 1576. 1 Second to Remember. Wonderful pop-up window free reading. Immortal Talisman Divine Tree. Heavenly Mystery Palace. At the peak of the towering mountain, old Een Monkey stared at Mu Fei's dignified face in astonishment. There's a divine tree in the misty sky. Astonishment filled the man's eyes. Heavenly Mystery Palace, Master Mu Fei nodded. That's right, the immortal talisman divine tree. That tree is much older than any of the immortal talisman spirit trees we have here. However, the divine tree has always been left unattended. In addition to the special geographical location of the misty sky, the divine tree was gradually eroded by the evil chi of the other realms, and in the end, it became both good and evil. Is that good or evil? Old Een Monkey asked. Mu Fei raised his head slightly, his eyelids twitching as he said, There is the original immortal talisman spirit chi of the divine tree, as well as the cold evil chi of corrosion. just like the heart demon of a person. The power lies in the hands of a single thought. It also depends on whose hands it falls into. After so many years, why didn't you pull out that divine tree? Why did you plant it in our heavenly mystery palace? Old Een Monkey rolled his eyes. He was already angry and had bad thoughts. Mu Fei shook his head. The misty sky is more fragile than imagined. That divine tree has been rooted there for who knows how many years. Once it is touched, it will definitely cause the misty sky to shake violently and even cause the space to collapse. Not to mention bringing the divine tree out. Even the people who go in will die there. So terrifying? You know best whether it's terrifying or not. When you sneaked in, didn't you encounter a space collapse? Old Een Monkey laughed dryly, slightly alleviating the awkwardness. Thinking back to when he sneaked in, he encountered a space collapse before he could even break through the illusory yellow sandstorm. Even though it was a small area, it almost took his life. According to the time in the misty sky, Chu Hen and his wife should have arrived at the Misty City you mentioned earlier. Old Een Monkey seemed to be asking, but also answering his own question. Pausing for a moment, he let out a sigh. Chu Hen brat, you better not touch that evil tree. If you don't come out, I, Han Yu, will really not have a single friend left. Misty sky. The ancient city, which was filled with a desolate aura, was especially quiet. In the sky, the inverted city in the sky was like a legendary mirage, magnificent and majestic, incomparably mysterious and fantastic. It was like the convergence of two worlds. It was very mysterious. This is Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree. Chu Hen's eyes were filled with astonishment as he gazed at the towering tree in the central square of the city. The spiritual tree in front of him was much more majestic than any of the Immortal Talisman's spiritual trees he had seen in the Tianji Palace. Even the 10,000-year-old Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree couldn't compare to this ancient tree. However, what was different from the Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree was that the color of the ancient tree in front of him was darker, and its bark was darker. Moreover, the huge crown that extended out only had branches, and not a single leaf could be seen on its entire body. It looked like an ancient tree that lacked the aura of nature and was about to wither. For some reason, looking at the huge ancient tree in front of him, Chu Hen felt an indescribable restlessness in his heart. This restlessness made him feel slightly uneasy, as if there was a strange magic that unknowingly stimulated a certain chord in Chu Hen's heart. In comparison, Luo Mengchong was much calmer. She looked at Chu Hen, whose expression was a little strange, and could not help but hold his hand. Let's go take a look at other places. This city is very big, and there might be other hidden space conveyor belts that we haven't found yet. As she spoke, Luo Mengchong pulled Chu Hen and walked in another direction. Time passed, and they did not stop. Without stopping, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong quietly walked through every corner of the ancient city. Their figures shuttled through every street, every alley, every courtyard, and every inconspicuous corner. Their depressed mood was like a slowly converging river, gradually accumulating and slowly expanding. In the end, it was like an undercurrent that was blocked in the heart, spreading wantonly and suffocating. After an unknown period of time, after going around in circles for a while, the two of them once again arrived in front of the dark but huge ancient tree. Such a huge ancient tree. The canopy covered the sky, and the countless branches were like an irregular big net that covered the sky, covering the sky above the ancient city square, and also blocking Chu Hen's heart. Let's go look elsewhere, Luo Mengchong comforted softly. Looking at Chu Hen's gradually pale and lonely face, Luo Mengchong's eyes were full of heartache. They're not here. Chu Hen's voice was a little dry and hoarse. Luo Mengchong bit her red lips with her silver teeth. She turned sideways and gently held Chu Hen's cheek with her lily-white hands. Don't be like this. Maybe Palace Master Mu Fei made a mistake. Your parents may have left the misty sky without him knowing. Let's go back first, okay? Chu Hen's eyes were faintly red. His hopes seemed to be shattered once again. His heart seemed to be constantly sinking in darkness. And when the last ray of light was drowned, his whole person seemed to have fallen to the bottom of an endless abyss. They're not here. They're not here. There was heartbreaking sadness in Chu Hen's eyes. Luo Mingchang's beautiful eyes were also red, and she held Chu Hen's hands. I will accompany you to find them. Let's go. For some reason, looking at Chu Hen like this, Luo Mingchang felt more and more uneasy. She always felt that there was an inexplicable cold aura in this place. This aura constantly invaded her mind, and it seemed to be interfering with Chu Hen's emotions. Intuition told her that she had to leave the misty sky with Chu Hen as soon as possible. After saying that, Luo Mengchang pulled Chu Hen up and was about to leave. Wah! However, before the two of them had time to turn around, a sharp and strange whistling sound suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. Rumble! Then a cold wind suddenly rose and a cold current attacked. The sky above the entire ancient city suddenly fell into darkness. Together with the bone-chilling cold aura, the huge ancient tree in front of the two of them actually rose a thick, blood-red aura. The dark red light was like a monstrous, demonic fire, instantly stacking and burning above and below the ancient tree, accompanied by bursts of distortion in the space. Above the ancient tree, a ferocious and huge blood-red, demonic shadow suddenly appeared. The demonic shadow was illusory and ethereal, and it looked like a skull with sharp horns. Its pair of empty eye sockets were deep like whirlpools. Swoosh! The cold and piercingly cold air invaded the entire ancient city and spread towards the forest outside the city. The spiritual body, small beasts in the forest were all disturbed, and they all looked up at the quiet and strange ancient city. Clang! The sky changed color, and thunder rumbled in the sky. For example, the scene of wind and thunder appeared in the middle of the two folded spaces, and it was an indescribably spectacular and shocking scene. The inverted city in the sky was trembling. The ancient city tower under their feet was also shaking. Under such an uneasy space distortion, the scene between heaven and earth seemed to really be folding and intersecting. Seeing this, Luo Mengchang was surprised and suspicious. She quickly grabbed Chu Hen's arm and said, "Go!" At the same time, there seemed to be a trace of evil and mysterious voice echoing in the air. "If we go, we will never see them again. Ah!" Chu Hen's expression changed, and he subconsciously held his head. The instant of pain caused his entire body to tremble uncontrollably. "What's wrong?" Luo Mengchang asked anxiously. She saw that Chu Hen's body was shaking violently, and the blood vessels on his arms and forehead bulged. The blood in his body surged wantonly, as if there was a ferocious monster wantonly struggling in his body. Immediately after, the depths of Chu Hen's eyes were filled with a demonic bloody light, surging with a cold, evil aura. "You!" Luo Mengchang was shocked by Chu Hen. "What's wrong with you?" "Chu Hen, don't do this." Looking at Luo Mengchang's beautiful face, full of worry, Chu Hen let out a low roar from his throat. "Go! Quickly leave, don't care about me. Heh!" The moment his voice fell, the giant tree in the center of the ancient city once again erupted with a bloody evil aura, and the ferocious demonic shadow floating in the sky also let out an extremely ear-piercing scream. Clang! It was also at this moment that an extremely violent and heavy explosion suddenly broke out in the sky. The wind and clouds suddenly changed, and the stars rotated. The space above was suddenly torn apart, and in an instant, a terrifying storm of destruction directly appeared in the sky above the ancient city. And the most terrifying thing was that in the center of the storm, deep and dark space cracks were forming and expanding at a speed as fast as the eye could see. Wherever it went, space distorted and then shattered. Space collapse! Luo Mingchang's pretty face turned pale, and a strong, ominous premonition began to attack her heart. Chapter 1577. In 1 second remember, wonderful pop-up window free reading. Boom! Clang! Thousands of wind and thunder vortexes suddenly appeared in the sky. Like a divine punishment, the endless destructive aura instantly filled the entire ancient city. Looking at the dark, devouring hole that quietly formed, Luo Mengshang's beautiful face turned pale. The space is collapsing. We have to leave quickly. However, at this moment, Chu Hen's state seemed to be out of control. He trembled uneasily, his eyes were red, and he exuded an evil and vicious aura. Chu Hen covered his head with both hands. He did not know where the voice came from, but it was like a sharp thorn piercing into his soul. Let's go. Once we leave, we will never see them again. Do you want to know the truth? Then don't leave. It was the Divine Eye Saint clan that destroyed your clan. It was that woman's father who brought people to slaughter your clan. She is your enemy, the enemy who killed your mother. He. All kinds of sharp and strange demonic howls invaded Chu Hen's mind, and he felt like his head was about to split open. Pain. The pain originated from the inner demons. Chu Hen did not even know why the invasion of the inner demons this time was so strong. It was so strong that even he could not distinguish reality from reality. Then Chu Hen raised his hand, and a soft palm force slapped Luo Mengshang's body. Go. Don't worry about me. Luo Mengshang, who was caught off guard, retreated dozens of meters. Buzz. In the next moment, an incomparably berserk, fiendish aura burst out from his body like a mountain torrent or tsunami. Chu Hen's eyes suddenly shot out 2 dazzling red beams of light. It was as if the blood in his entire body was boiling. His entire body emitted a malevolent aura. Chu Hen! Luo Mengshang was so shocked that she did not know what to do. Her beautiful eyes were filled with sadness. Ah, all of you, get out of my way, Chu Hen roared. Countless blood-colored light pillars broke through the earth, and one after another, they tore through the sky like dragons tearing through the dome of the heavens. Boom! The uncontrollable evil aura was like a torrent that had broken through a dam, overturning the world. The ground beneath Chu Hen's feet cracked inch by inch, exploding layer by layer. Countless large and small gravel were like startled beasts, dancing wildly in the sky. The powerful energy fluctuations emanating from Chu Hen once again caused the already fragile space to suffer a huge impact. Clang! Heavy and violent explosions rang out. The destructive storm vortex seemed to have been stimulated as it accelerated its expansion speed. The dark, devouring hole inside continued to attack in all directions, and the area of space collapse was collapsing at double the speed. Up in the sky, the fantastical world that seemed to be inverted was swept away by a storm that could devour the heavens, and a large area of the city collapsed and disintegrated. At the same time, the ground of the ancient city where Chu Hen and Luo Mengshang were located also cracked open rapidly. There were faults everywhere. Tower after tower collapsed with a loud rumble, causing dust to fill the sky. Tian Fa had descended. The apocalypse collapsed. The scene in front of them was definitely the terrifying scene of the destruction of the legendary Doomsday. The destructive storm began to destroy the world. Go! Chu Hen's eyes were blood red, and he roared at Luo Mengshang with his last remaining consciousness. Luo Mengshang was at a loss. Even though Chu Hen's entire body was currently emitting an evil aura that overflowed the heavens, his eyes still had concern and pity towards her. If you don't go, I won't go either, Luo Mengshang said with tears in her eyes. Boom! The ground between the two of them directly cracked open, and blood-colored light beams, like the tentacles of a demon from hell, surrounded Chu Hen layer by layer. Only then did Luo Mengshang understand. It was not that Chu Hen did not want to go, but that he had been firmly restrained by the inner demon. Chu Hen was completely out of his control. In Chu Hen's mind, the figures of his father, Chu Rantian, and his mother, Li Jixia, kept appearing. The few voices and smiles in his memory were like invisible chains, tightly locking his body. And, in those fragmented memories, a pair of peach blossom eyes full of sadness and tears pierced through Chu Hen's heart like a sharp knife. Because of Chi Tianling, because of the heart beast, and also because of all the things that had happened during this period of time. Chu Hen's inner demon had unknowingly grown to a level that was difficult to control. Today, the long-suppressed resentment was concentrated and erupted. All kinds of things, like a connected chain, did not give Chu Hen the slightest chance to breathe. Jia, stay here. Stay here and wait for the person you are looking for. All kinds of complex and ear-piercing sounds had already driven Chu Hen crazy. Chu Hen let out a loud roar, then unleashed an earth-shattering power. A blood-red light surged within his ice-cold pupils. Chu Hen's biting cold gaze coldly stared at the continuously expanding spatial devouring hole in the sky. Not far away, Luo Mingchang's face was pale. She shouted and rushed towards Chu Hen. No, whoosh! The moment his voice fell, Chu Hen directly leaped into the sky, like a beam of aurora, and rushed towards the vortex-devouring hole that exuded the aura of the sky-devouring hole. The space-devouring hole, which had already covered more than half of the ancient city, was like the mouth of a prehistoric giant opening an abyss. Chu Hen was like a small butterfly in a storm. His cold, bloody eyes stared at the mysterious and dark devouring hole, and a strong, evil aura erupted, like a judge fighting against divine punishment. No. Luo Mingchang's pretty face was pale, and crystal-clear tears quietly slid down her cheeks. The endless devouring aura shrouded down. Chu Hen, who had lost his mind, blindly rushed towards the collapsing space-devouring hole. The terrifying chaotic currents that originated from the devouring hole were enough to crush the other party into pieces in an instant. Luo Mingchang's eyes were filled with grief, and her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. No, she weakly pleaded. Buzz! Suddenly, just as Chu Hen approached the entrance of the space-devouring hole, the inside of the devouring hole, which contained the endless aura of the dark abyss, suddenly erupted with an incomparably dazzling and gorgeous golden light. The space trembled violently, and the dense golden light was like an exploding star. Bang! With a loud noise, a fierce and powerful shock wave spread out from within. Chu Hen, who was near the edge of the devouring hole, was directly shaken back. Seeing this, Luo Mingchang's heartstrings trembled. Without any hesitation, without even wiping away her tears, she immediately flew forward and gently brought Chu Hen into her embrace. Chu Hen's eyes flashed red. Mingchang, quickly! However, before Chu Hen could finish his words, Luo Mingchang's gentle red lips directly blocked Chu Hen's hot mouth. The cool and fragrant touch made Chu Hen's body involuntarily tremble. His pupils shrank, and the surging bloodlight in his eyes slightly receded. Luo Mingchang's eyes were filled with tears as she turned around and tightly hugged Chu Hen. Fool! After waiting for so many years, I finally returned to your side. How can I leave alone? Luo Mingchang looked straight into Chu Hen's eyes, and their lips reluctantly parted. Her intelligent and beautiful eyes reflected the face of the most important person in her life. Looking at the beauty's devastatingly beautiful face, as well as her soft and delicate body, Chu Hen's heart trembled slightly, and he could not help but be a little absent-minded. Buzz! At the same time, a dazzling golden brilliance was once again released from the space-devouring cave that was erupting with a strong energy fluctuation. The golden rain of light that covered the sky and covered the earth was like the fragments of a falling meteor. Tens of thousands of golden meteor fragments flew towards the place where Chu Hen and Luo Mingchang were. Something unbelievable happened. Countless fragments of various sizes were scattered around the two in an orderly manner. Then, countless rays of light, like the aurora rays, quickly connected all the fragments together, forming a mysterious, three-dimensional constellation array in an instant. However, at this moment, Chu Hen only stared at Luo Mingchang's breathtakingly exquisite face with a complicated expression. "You're the fool! I'm trapped by the heart demon. I can't get out." Chu Hen had never felt so close to the aura of the heart beast and the demon god. He could even smell the evil stench hidden in another space. The aura that originated from them was like an iron chain that firmly held onto Chu Hen. However, Luo Mengchang shook her head and replied softly, "You're trapped by the heart demon, and so am I." "You're my heart demon. I can't get out. Are you stupid?" "What can I do?" Luo Mengchang smiled. She wrapped her arms around Chu Hen's neck, and the tips of their noses gently touched each other, feeling the familiar aura of the other. "Don't even think of getting rid of me." After saying that, Luo Mengchang once again kissed the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. Chu Hen closed his eyes and hugged Luo Mengchang's delicate body tightly in his arms. The two of them seemed to be in the midst of thousands of stars, hugging and snuggling in the vast and endless river of the universe. Clang! Boom! An apocalyptic storm raged, and the scene of the collapse of the apocalypse shrouded them. In an instant, the ancient city above their heads and the ancient city below them all collapsed, and the space around the two of them also shattered like a broken mirror. A large-scale space devouring whole began to devour this world. At the same moment that the entire space collapsed, the countless golden fragments floating around Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang directly gathered together, turning into a thick golden wall that enveloped the two of them, inside the narrow space that was overflowing with light. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang hugged and kissed each other deeply. Luo Mengchang's appearance was peerless, and her delicate figure was even more attractive. Her white skin was like snow, and it seemed as if it could be broken with a light touch. Under Chu Hen's gentle caress, Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes gradually revealed a little blurred. She could only nervously hug Chu Hen, not daring to move. The atmosphere in the world that belonged to the two of them gradually became erotic and dreamy. Meanwhile, the ethereal space continued to collapse, as if a world-destroying storm was raging, and the terrifying space devouring whole minced everything. "All right, the female lead that you wanted has been pushed down, and I'm embarrassed to write." Chapter 1578. 1 second to remember. The wonderful pop-up window is free to read. Boom! The collapse of the space in the misty sky was especially violent, and the hole that devoured the space was spreading rapidly. The folded world collapsed inch by inch, like an exploding mirror, and the raging black storm formed an extremely frightening scene of the end of the world. The entire misty sky seemed to be stirred into a terrible black hole. Countless terrifying spatial turbulence crisscrossed, wanting to destroy and devour everything. However, at the same moment that the world collapsed, the tens of thousands of golden fragments that flew out of nowhere formed a golden wall, enveloping Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. Looking from afar, there seemed to be an oval-shaped golden stone cocoon floating in the collapsed void. The powerful spatial distortion force struck the golden stone cocoon, but it was actually as stable as a tough boulder in a storm, calm and unmoving. Boom! The dark storm that could devour heaven and earth swept through the misty ancient city, and it spread to other areas at a particularly terrifying speed. The forest outside the city that was condensed from the spiritual body was also attacked like a primordial tsunami. Countless small animals, flowers, and trees in the forest, all of them were torn apart by the distorted space. "It's that man's power!" The giant guard slowly raised his head. His ghost-like eyes gazed at the golden stone cocoon floating in the chaotic sky as he yelled in a muffled voice, 3,000 great Daos, Chaos Heaven Palm, boom! Immediately afterward, the giant guard's huge body was crushed by the collapsing space. However, something even more surprising happened. All the spiritual bodies that had collapsed between heaven and earth turned into beams of gorgeous golden light that shot into the sky and surged toward the golden stone cocoon, floating in the void. In an instant, the golden stone cocoon was surrounded by thousands of dazzling rays of light. The conditions for the formation of a spiritual body were extremely harsh. Only when the concentration of spiritual qi reached a very high level, and after countless years of convergence and fusion, would it give rise to various forms. In other words, any kind of spiritual body would contain extremely dense spiritual power. Even a small and graceful spirit butterfly contained extremely pure and powerful spirit energy. Furthermore, everything in the entire forest outside Ethereal City was a spiritual entity born from heaven and earth. This power was as majestic as a river and as vast as the ocean. But, one by one, the trees crumbled into shadows, turning into enchanting dreamy fragments that floated into the sky. Rats, rabbits, deer, and other wild beasts of various sizes also transformed into swirling shadows of light and flew into the sky. Innumerable swirling rays of light leaped up from the collapsed ground and shot into the heavenly river. It was an extremely spectacular scene, as if millions of stars were rising against the heavens, unrestrained by any gravity. The instant collapse was indescribably beautiful. The sky and the earth disintegrated in an instant, like a destructive art created by the gods of creation. It was stunning and beautiful. The entire world collapsed and shattered, and the surging power formed by the spiritual body continuously poured into the stone cocoon that wrapped around Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang, inextricably linked. It was like a galaxy ring. From afar, the stone cocoon looked like a mysterious celestial body floating in the vast star domain, absorbing the boundless spiritual qi that was surging towards it from all directions at an extremely fast speed. Rumble. At this moment, the inside and outside of the Heavenly Mystery Palace was in chaos. Palace Master, something bad has happened. The ethereal sky is collapsing. What? Mu Fei, who was reading the scrolls, heard the commotion outside and immediately put down the scroll in her hand and flew outside. The wind raged, and the sky trembled uneasily. The sky above the Heavenly Mystery Palace was enveloped in an incomparably dark gray storm. East, above the many immortal talisman trees, the boundary gate leading to the ethereal sky seemed to have encountered a huge brute force, expanding outwards at a speed visible to the naked eye. From the initial diameter of a few meters, it expanded to a width of 100 meters in the blink of an eye. It was like a destructive hurricane that came from the heavens, constantly pouring down. The immortal talisman trees below all shook uneasily, and a few immortal talisman trees even drilled through the soil, forcibly uprooted. We need to close the spirit formation passage as soon as possible. When Mu Fei hurried to the area of the immortal talisman trees, the white-clothed and black-clothed old men guarding the area said in a deep voice, "No." Old Ean Monkey, who had also rushed over, hurriedly stopped him. "If we close the passage at this time, Chu Hen and the others won't be able to come out." "Nonsense," the black-clothed old man sternly berated. "Do you know what the current situation is? Once the space within the misty sky collapses and extends out, our entire Heavenly Mystery Palace will suffer. If it's serious, even the Immortal Seal region will be plunged into misery and suffering." The white-clothed old man's expression was also incomparably solemn. He raised his head to look at the terrifying storm that was like a giant beast that could devour the heavens, and said with a face full of shock, "Ever since our Heavenly Mystery Palace took control of the Immortal Seal region, such a large-scale collapse has never occurred in the misty sky. I'm afraid that the space inside no longer exists, and those two are most likely dead." But Old Ean Monkey wanted to say more. Rumble. Wind and thunder exploded. Waves of air surged into the sky, accompanied by an enormous gravitational force that devoured the heavens. A few immortal talisman trees directly broke free from the gravity of the earth and were forcefully pulled out of the ground, being swept up into the sky by the biting cold whirlwind. Under countless pairs of incomparably shocked gazes, the few immortal talisman trees were swept into the black passageway and then instantly turned to dust. Ah, heavens! The expressions of all the disciples of the heavenly mystery palace who witnessed this scene changed drastically, all of them pale with fright. Old Een Monkey, the white-clothed old man, the black-clothed old man, and the others were also greatly alarmed. Seeing this, the palace master of the heavenly mystery palace, Mu Fei, no longer hesitated. He said in a deep voice, "Close the passage." "You." Old Een Monkey's brows furrowed, but when the words reached his mouth, he hesitated. He himself knew very well in his heart what kind of terrifying outcome the collapse of the entire misty sky would cause. It was simply unrealistic for just Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong to sacrifice the entire Immortal Seal region. Moreover, in this kind of situation, the two of them had no way of escaping. The white-clothed old man and the black-clothed old man did not hesitate in the slightest. The two of them immediately sat below the 10,000-year immortal talisman tree, and their eyes, which were filled with countless cautiousness, exploded with a sharp, cold light. "Seal!" The two of them shouted loudly, and a vast river of Reiki energy gushed out from their Niwen palace. Whoosh! A formless wave of air spread out, and all the immortal talisman trees in the entire forest shone with luxurious and resplendent talisman light. Buzz, buzz! The 10,000-year immortal talisman tree in the center area then exploded with a vigorous and vast silver pillar of light. The pillar of light shot straight into the sky, and with the talisman light from the other immortal talisman trees, it formed a complex, strange, and beautiful formation. Under the high-speed operation of the talisman formation, it was as if an incomparably beautiful umbrella was opened in the sky. Then, the gray storm that wreaked havoc in the sky above the heavenly mystery palace quickly retreated towards the broken spirit formation passageway entrance. For example, along the retreating tide at the entrance of the dam, the spirit formation entrance that was constantly being pushed open also started to shrink. Looking at the quickly sealed passageway entrance, old Een Monkey's hands clenched into fists, his gaze fixed on the sky. What he hoped to see was that the instant before the passageway entrance closed, those two familiar figures would be able to rush out at the last moment. However, a miracle did not occur. Buzz! The moment the spatial passageway entrance was completely sealed, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong still did not appear. The fierce wind that was wreaking havoc gradually calmed down. The shaking heaven and earth also returned to calmness. Along with it, there was also the passageway that had gathered in the sky these 2 days that connected to the misty sky. The heavenly mystery palace, once again, returned to peace. The white-robed old man, the black-robed old man, as well as the other elders and disciples of the sect, could not help but heave a sigh of relief. However, old Een Monkey and Palace Master Mu Fei could only helplessly shake their heads in regret. Sigh. Old Een Monkey sighed deeply. The thing that he was most worried about had finally happened. The space of the misty sky collapsed so completely. It almost extended to the outside world. The situation was much worse than he had imagined. Under such a situation, would Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong still have a way out? Old Een Monkey did not dare to imagine. Chapter 1579. Inside a dark and secluded hall, a deep and indistinct ancient voice swayed in the air. In the darkness, the indistinct voice seemed to originate from the chaotic universe. Chu Rantian's son has gone to the misty sky. In the darkness, a deep, cold, yet dignified voice sounded from the left side of the hall. Humph! The divine mystery palace is quite daring to open the misty sky passage for him. Then a disdainful sneer came from the right side. But unfortunately, the space inside the misty sky collapsed this morning. It almost reached outside the Immortal Seal region. Ha 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 ha! So the father and son are buried together? What a regrettable piece of news. Don't celebrate too early. It's still unknown whether Chu Rantian is dead or not. Don't forget the blood of the divine emperor flows in the bodies of the primal chaos race. At these words, the voice from the right side paused. Divine Emperor. Even though these two words had been spoken tens of thousands of years ago, it was still like a warning. No need to worry. At this moment, a cold, indifferent voice came from above the hall. Whether Chu Rantian is dead or alive, there's nothing to worry about. In the darkness, on the stone throne, a mysterious eye that seemed to be hidden under the claws of a devil slowly opened. Invisible spatial vibrations overlapped, and a supreme golden light flickered faintly in the eye. Time passed day by day. The atmosphere between the continents of the major domains gradually became indescribably restless. It was like a surging undercurrent that disturbed every corner of the world. The crimson moon descended, the divine star guarded. A crimson moon hung high in the night sky. Unlike before, there were now two bright stars on the east and west sides of the crimson moon. Moreover, the crimson moon was much larger than before. It gave people the feeling that it was much closer to the world. The blood moon is getting closer and closer to us. Is the world of chaos coming? The Midland, the Eastern Domain, and all the other realms sank into a tense atmosphere. Moreover, this atmosphere continued to intensify as time passed. What chaos? When has this world ever been truly peaceful? That's true. Crimson Moon's appearance only means that the Saint Clan meeting is about to begin. But it's said that the Sacred Race Convention this time will be a little different from the previous ones. If things aren't handled well, a certain race might be kicked out of the 10 strongest sacred races, and that race might very well become the strongest ruler after the Chaos God race and wield the Heavenly Emperor's writ. The blood moon had descended, and the sacred star would be guarded. Unknowingly, the various great powers in the entire world had already become restless because of the upcoming Sacred Race Conference. For some people, it was a suffocating pressure. The False Realm, Imperial Purple City. The Sacred Race Convention is approaching, but they really don't give anyone a chance to catch their breath. Above the city gate tower, the hunched back of the fourth elder seemed especially small on the city wall, lonely and old, with an indescribable sorrow and bitterness. He raised his head to look at the blood moon that resembled the eye of an evil beast. His cloudy eyes were filled with sorrow. At this moment, 2 tall and burly figures slowly stepped onto the city tower, one on the left and one on the right behind the fourth elder. One of them was a heavenly wolf star guard, Rao Fei Ilwan. The other was a lone star guard, Li Wushang. Their expressions were also indescribably deep and complicated. The Sacred Race Convention. It was extremely important to the 10 strongest Saint clans. However, the Sacred Race Convention this time was like adding snow to snow for the demon Pupil Saint clan. It came at a bad time. Li Kuan has been in closed-door cultivation since last month. If everything goes well, he'll be able to reach the quasi-emperor stage before the Sacred Race Convention. Rao Fei Luan glanced at Li Wushang with a hint of pride in her eyes. The fourth elder turned around and nodded with a gratified expression. Looks like the recent news isn't all bad. If Li Kuan can step into the quasi-emperor stage, it'll be a form of insurance for us. Subsequently, the fourth elder looked at Li Wushang and asked, "Where's Chu Hen now?" Li Wushang paused for a moment before he replied. The reply from the Eastern Victory State is that Chu Hen went to the Celestial Talisman region with Luo Mengchang from the 9 Nether Saint clan last month. Oh, the 9 Nether Saint clan. The fourth elder's eyes lit up faintly. Then he said, "He'll be back before the Sacred Race Convention starts, right?" "I think so," Li Wushang replied. The fourth elder sighed again. To the demon Pupil Saint clan, the Sacred Race Convention this time was an unavoidable calamity. Could it be that they had survived the calamity? Or perhaps it was impossible to escape the calamity. Rumble, rumble. The cliff was like a giant blade, and the spectacular waterfall was like the Milky Way that fell from the 9 heavens. The waves crashed into the 1,000 layers, and the water splashed into the sky. The dazzling sunlight shone on the inside and outside of the mountain stream, forming an arc-shaped rainbow in the refraction of water vapor. Clang! Suddenly, a bolt of divine thunder exploded, and the sky darkened. Along with an unparalleled berserk momentum, a bolt of lightning pierced through the sky like an apocalyptic divine punishment. Boom! In an instant, a huge mountain on the opposite side of the broken wall was directly split in half. Along with the dust that had spread out, the mountain range slowly spread out to both sides. The gap in the middle was extremely neat and smooth like the surface of a mirror. Even though the giant mountain was split in half, the cliff where the waterfall flowed was not affected at all. Even the flow of the waterfall did not change at all. This was an extremely terrifying control of power. Apart from the target, no one else would be affected at all. The degree of accuracy was not the slightest bit off. Splash! The waterfall rushed down from the 1,000-foot cliff to the valley below. A bare-chested young figure stood in the pool, not moving an inch despite the heavy impact of the waterfall. His brows were cold, and his burly figure was full of youthful vigor. In his hand he held a sharp sword. The sword was intertwined with a series of incomparably manic silver lightning. It was obvious that the thunderous sword that split heaven and earth just now came from this person. Whoosh! At this moment, a hurried afterimage flew over from outside the valley. He landed on a rock by the side of the pool and respectfully knelt on one knee. "Lord Thunder Kuin, I finally found you!" The young figure under the waterfall turned slightly, and a proud smile appeared on his face. "The Sacred Clan Conference is about to start, I know," he sneered disdainfully, and an invisible sharp and domineering aura was revealed. Thunder Kuin's eyes faintly flashed with dazzling arcs. "I have something to do today, so I'll take half a day off." Interested readers can join the QQ group to discuss the plot, make friends, and chat. There are many brothers, sisters, and cross-dressers in the group. Yes, cross-dressers. Administrators who want to join the group, add the WeChat group. Divine King Wu Ji Book Friends Exchange Group 149825000. Chapter 1580. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed since the spatial storm in the mystical heavenly palace. The celestial seal, Domain, had gradually forgotten what had happened that day. Meanwhile, the Sacred Race Convention had long since become a hot topic in the various domains. There's only about a month left until the Sacred Race Convention, right? Probably. I have a feeling that something big will happen this time. It's been 10,000 years. The Heavenly Emperor, Token, should have a successor. That clan will definitely become the new ruler. There's also a clan that will probably be replaced as one of the 10 strongest sacred clans. Which clan are you talking about? Haha! Everyone knows that a certain clan's current strength is no longer worthy of the title of the strongest sacred clan. I have to admit that I'm really looking forward to the Saint Clan meeting this time. The rising popularity continued to spread across the continents of the major domains. Although the Sacred Race Convention had yet to begin, everyone was already looking forward to it. The misty sky, a completely collapsed space, a plane that was isolated from the rest of the world. The original environment of the misty sky no longer existed, and the original appearance of the folded plains had also disappeared. The yellow sand desert, the overturned star field, the spiritual body forest, and the ethereal ancient city had all disappeared along with the spatial collapse 2 months ago. What replaced them was an ethereal and boundless world of chaos. The sky, the earth, up and down, left and right. At a glance, it was all hazy, and the entire space was like a turbid corner of the endless universe. There was no heaven and earth, no day and night. In the distance, stars could faintly be seen in the galaxy. And in this vast and boundless world of chaos, a completely enclosed object that looked like a stone cocoon quietly floated in the void. Under the dark sky, it was like a speck of dust floating in the starry universe. Inside the stone cocoon, the space inside was quite spacious. Chu Hen's upper body was bare, His strong and powerful body formed a perfect arc coupled with his handsome face. Chu Hen's body emitted an aura that transcended into sainthood. He sat quietly in front of a wall, his gaze still filled with doubt as he stared at the mysterious and complicated runes on the stone wall. At this moment, a pair of fair arms wrapped around Chu Hen's neck from behind. "What are you thinking about?" Luo Mengchang leaned lightly on Chu Hen's shoulder like a playful little girl. She wore a chiffon evening dress, and her exquisite figure was flawless. Chu Hen smiled and gently held Luo Mengchang's small hand. Then he turned to look back, and the two looked at each other at close range. Then Chu Hen's other hand wrapped around her slender waist, causing her to cling tightly to him. "Guess." "I can't guess." Luo Mengchang's cheeks were slightly red. She gently pressed her palm against Chu Hen's shoulder and stared at Chu Hen with her beautiful eyes. She said, "Behave yourself. I'm now a quasi-emperor powerhouse. Try and bully me if you dare. Wow. Quasi-emperor realm." Chu Hen pretended to exclaim in surprise. On the surface, he pretended to be afraid. Then, taking advantage of Luo Mengchang being unprepared, he leaned forward and lightly pressed Luo Mengchang under him. "I've successfully taken down a quasi-emperor powerhouse. Tell me, what should I do with her next?" A mischievous smile appeared at the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. Luo Mengchang was angry and amused at the same time. "You're a bad person. I don't want to play with you." Luo Mengchang pouted slightly, and her watery eyes rippled slightly. In Chu Hen's eyes it was pitiful, beautiful, and moving. Without waiting for Luo Mengchang to resist, Chu Hen directly kissed her delicate red lips. Crack! At this moment, a crisp cracking sound came from the surroundings. In the next instant, the stone cocoon that enveloped the two of them began to rapidly open up with countless cracks of various sizes. Then, with a muffled bang, the thick walls in the surroundings quietly collapsed and caved in. Chu Hen was slightly shocked. "Someone's coming?" Luo Mengchang also quickly pushed Chu Hen away. After all, it was her first time having sex, and Luo Mengchang's shy feelings had yet to recede. She was afraid that someone would suddenly appear. In comparison, Chu Hen was much more magnanimous. He pursed his lips as if he had not had enough. "Quickly put on your clothes. We have to think of a way to leave this place," Luo Mengchang reminded Chu Hen as she put on her clothes. Looking at Luo Mengchang's cute appearance with a little panic, a gentle smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. The most important person was right in front of him. What else could be happier than this? Chu Hen looked at the surrounding environment. The misty sky in front of him seemed to be in chaos. He did not know where the sky was and where the earth was. It was endless in all directions. He could not see the sun, the moon, or anything else. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang were like two specks of dust floating in the chaotic universe, with no direction to speak of. And around the two of them, there were countless large and small gravel floating in the air. These gravel were like meteorite fragments in the star-filled universe. How could this be? Luo Mengchang, who had already tidied up her clothes, looked around in a daze. "The world we saw before has already collapsed. This should be the original form of the misty sky." Chu Hen explained. "Where is the exit?" "I don't know." Chu Hen shook his head, a solemn look in his eyes. Thinking back to the scene of the collapse of the misty sky, it was definitely like the end of the world. The whole world had collapsed. It was unbelievable that he and Luo Mengchang had survived. Then Chu Hen stared solemnly at the strange gravel floating around the two of them. "I seem to remember that it was these things that protected us back then." Luo Mengchang also recalled. "Yes." Chu Hen nodded. "What are they?" Luo Mengchang asked. The corners of Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. He hesitated for a moment before replying in a deep voice. "If I'm not wrong, these are the fragments of the Great Path Divine Stone." "The Great Path Divine Stone?" Luo Mengchang was stunned. Chu Hen nodded again. Then, a touch of determination flashed in his eyes. "Try it, and you'll know. Hua!" As soon as he finished speaking, a particularly majestic aura suddenly burst out of Chu Hen's body. Along with the open True Origin Purple Palace, a desolate and ancient aura surged out like a torrent. Buzz, buzz, accompanied by a slight distortion in the space. Chu Hen twisted his 5 fingers in the air. In an instant, a black stone tablet with a majestic aura appeared in the void. The invisible huge aura caused the surrounding space to tremble faintly. The black stone tablet was full of mysterious ancient aura. However, in the next moment, something amazing happened. The countless gravel floating around the two of them emitted bursts of strange, rhythmic movements. Zung! Like a restless herd of beasts, each fragment glowed with brilliant colors. Then, large and small, hundreds of millions of densely packed gravel, like a meteor shower across the sky, flew toward the great path divine stone that Chu Hen had summoned. It was as if a strong gravitational force had gathered. The fragments stuck to the great path divine stone and then arranged themselves along the edges and corners of the stone. The scene was spectacular. The fragments that filled the sky could be said to be arranged in an orderly manner, inlaid with each other, like a giant 3-dimensional puzzle. Under the surprised gazes of Luo Mengchang and Chu Hen, the volume of the great path divine stone more than doubled from its original base. It was like a peerless mountain floating in front of the two of them. The cracks all over the divine stone flickered with brilliant light. The patterns of light flowed like electric arcs. Whoosh! After a dazzling light swept past, the cracks caused by the arrangement of the fragments rapidly shrank incomparably tight until not a single gap could be seen. Looking at the thousands of flickering lights, as if shrouded in divine light, Chu Hen's mind also felt as if it was being pulled. He subconsciously stepped forward, walking in front of the great path divine stone. Then, Chu Hen involuntarily raised his hand, gently placing his palm on the surface of the great path divine stone. Buzz! The moment Chu Hen's palm touched the surface of the great path divine stone, his body suddenly trembled, as if his entire body had been hit by a huge electric current. All the dazzling talisman light swimming around the great path divine stone gathered toward Chu Hen's palm. Rumble! It was as if thunder had exploded in Chu Hen's mind. An ancient and distant voice quietly reached his ears. 3,000 great paths, chaos palm. This method is called the Great Path Scripture. Chapter 1581. The 3,000 Great Paths, Chaos Heaven Palm. This technique is called the Great Path Scripture. Buzz! A thunderous sound exploded in Chu Hen's mind. The great path divine stone, which was as majestic as a mountain, bloomed with thousands of dazzling ancient runes. Like a flowing electric net, mysterious runes quickly gathered in Chu Hen's palm, like an endless ancient curse invading Chu Hen's mind. Then, Chu Hen's pupils dilated, and his consciousness was suddenly dragged into a vast and endless ethereal world. Time flew, and day and night alternated. With the separation of the chaotic sun and moon, Chu Hen's eyes seemed to pass through the birth of all things, the operation of the 5 elements, and the initial separation of yin and yang. Then the mountains and rivers absorbed all rivers, and the qi swallowed the qi of the universe. Chu Hen seemed to be wandering the universe, from nothingness to existence, from ethereal to all things, and the operation of heaven and earth. The sun and moon were all reflected in Chu Hen's eyes. What's wrong? At this time, Luo Mingshang's concerned voice came from behind. Buzz! The ethereal all things, the rotation of the sun and moon, in the depths of Chu Hen's eyes quietly faded. He came back to his senses and looked at Luo Mingshang sideways, his expression a little strange. Did it take a long time? What do you mean? Luo Mingshang did not understand. Chu Hen shook his head and sighed softly, I seemed to have gone to another world just now, and it felt like a long time had passed. Luo Mingshang smiled lightly. Only to the count of 3. Where could you have gone? Only to the count of 3. Chu Hen was a little surprised. Then what did you see? Luo Mingshang asked. Chu Hen had a thoughtful look, and if he wanted to ask what he saw, he could not say. Just like the changes of heaven and earth, the birth of the sun and moon, in this great path realm, humans were like mayflies trying to shake a tree, exceptionally small. Seeing that Chu Hen was also confused, Luo Mingshang could not help but feel funny. All right, don't think about it anymore. You're right, these really are the fragments of the great Tao Divine Stone. As she spoke, Luo Mingshang looked at the majestic, great path divine stone in front of her. Chu Hen's attention returned to the black stone tablet that was exuding an ancient and desolate aura. Compared to before, the size of the great Tao Divine Stone had doubled. But the surface of the tablet was still not complete, and there were still very obvious broken edges and corners at the top. In other words, the divine stone of the great path in front of them was only a part of it. It's my father, Chu Hen said in a deep tone. Huh. Luo Mingshang's beautiful eyes flickered, a little puzzled. Chu Hen pursed his lips slightly, and his eyes were filled with respect. It was my father who set up the inhibition formation here with the fragments of the divine stone of the great path. He knew that I would come here. Once the misty sky collapsed, the inhibition formation here would be triggered. He protected us, although it was just a guess. But Chu Hen firmly believed it. Previously at the Heavenly Mystery Palace, Mu Fei had already said that Chu Qintian had predicted that Chu Hen would come. Coupled with the great path scripture hidden in the fragments of the divine stone, Chu Hen was almost certain that this was something that Chu Qintian had left for him. Looking at Chu Hen's slightly red eyes, Luo Mingshang's heartstrings trembled slightly. She hugged him gently and said, "It's okay, I guess they're definitely alive, but they just can't come to see you immediately." Chu Hen nodded deeply. He let out a long sigh of relief. "Yes, I also believe that they are still alive, and I also believe that I will definitely see them in the future." Chu Hen hugged Luo Mingshang's slender waist affectionately, his chin resting lightly on her cheek, a pair of hopeful eyes gazing at the vast misty sky river in front of them. Huh? At this moment, Chu Hen caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of his eye and could not help but let out a cry of surprise. "What's wrong?" Luo Mingshang looked up at him. "Look over there. Over there?" Following Chu Hen's direction, Luo Mingshang looked to the side and saw that in the hazy void of chaos, a black shadow was floating towards them from afar. Looking at it from afar, it was a strange, dark colored tree. The tree's crown was especially huge, and the branches that branched out were like a 3-dimensional net, but there was not a single leaf on the entire tree. "It's that evil tree." Luo Mingshang's pretty face changed slightly. Previously, it was precisely because of that evil tree that directly awakened Chu Hen's inner demons. He originally thought that with the collapse of the misty sky, the tree would also be destroyed, but he did not expect it to still exist here. This ancient tree is actually so powerful that it was actually not destroyed. Chu Hen was also somewhat surprised. He looked at the giant black monument behind him. Perhaps only a treasure of the same level as the great Path Divine Stone could withstand the terrifying destructive power produced by the collapse of space. "I'll go and push it further away," Luo Mingshang said. However, before she could act, she was stopped by Chu Hen. "It's all right, my inner demons have been suppressed, and I won't be disturbed by it anymore." "Really?" "Yes." Chu Hen gently held her delicate little face, and there was gentleness between his brows. "During this period of time, I've accepted a lot of things, and I will no longer be stubborn about many things. Every life and death experience was like the ups and downs of life." Chu Hen knew that if it was not for his stubbornness, the inner demons would not have found an opportunity to take advantage of him, and it was also because of his stubbornness that Luo Mingshang almost died. After accepting the past, Chu Hen's state of mind had also changed beyond before, and the inner demons were once again suppressed. Rumble! Suddenly, a thunderstorm suddenly appeared in the misty sky above. Rapid and piercing waves of air spread in all directions, and the sky was once again torn open, forming a huge gap. The space was about to collapse again. Chu Hen was suddenly shocked. Luo Mingshang's pretty face also turned pale. Wasn't the space stable? Buzz! Just as the two of them were shocked, a brilliant golden beam of light spilled in from the gap in the space. Then a familiar voice came from behind. Chu Hen, are you and your wife still alive? It's Senior Old Een Monkey. Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and he looked at Luo Mingshang, both surprised and happy. We're still here. Chu Hen hurriedly shouted. Oh my God, you're really not dead? You're too tough. Old Een Monkey's voice was obviously excited. Hurry, come out quickly, hurry! All right. After saying that, Chu Hen's heart trembled, and the violet palace of true essence opened. A rich golden light wrapped around the great Tao divine stone, and it was directly absorbed into his body. Just as Chu Hen was about to leave with Luo Mingshang, out of the corner of his eye, he once again glanced at the evil tree floating in the ethereal void. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Hen let go of Luo Mingshang's lily-white hand. Mingshang, wait for me at the entrance of the passage. Huh? Luo Mingshang was taken aback, but she quickly understood what Chu Hen was going to do. Okay, be careful. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After saying that, the two immediately separated. Luo Mingshang took the lead and flew to the gap in the space that was sprinkling golden sacred light. Chu Hen's figure moved, and he immediately arrived in front of the dark, ancient tree. The huge, dark, ancient tree was like a monster born from the chaotic universe, and the tens of thousands of runes on its surface were dark, like demonic runes. Hua! Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and in an instant, an extraordinary aura surged out, and his Naiwan palace opened wide. Along with the opening of his Naiwan palace, a loud roar echoed out as a tree-like monster with beast claws dashed out. In the process of moving, the rune beast's body rapidly enlarged, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge beast that was hundreds of feet tall. Its body flickered with countless beautiful runes, and it stretched out its front claws, directly pouncing towards the ancient evil tree. Just as the rune beast hugged the huge trunk of the evil tree, the dark runes that covered the whole of the evil tree suddenly exploded with a strong and dazzling light. Along with the trembling of the space, a dense fiendish and evil aura suddenly rose up. It was like a blood-colored demonic barrier rushing straight into the heavenly river. Wah! The monstrous evil aura directly gathered above the evil tree, forming a huge, hideous skull devil shadow. The terrifying evil aura was like a huge tentacle, quickly wrapping around the rune beast's body, firmly tying it to the tree. The hideous devil shadow let out an ear-piercing roar. Devil flames rose, and it seemed like it was going to devour the rune beast. Rumble! The intense collision between the two directly caused the illusory space to shake uneasily again. The golden beam of light that poured in from the gap in the space above also seemed to have encountered an impact, shrinking at a speed that could be seen by the naked eye. What are you two doing inside? Old Een Monkey's anxious voice suddenly came from the outside. Don't mess around. Boss, this passage is very fragile. It won't last long. Upon hearing Old Een Monkey's words, Luo Mingshang, who had already reached the exit, could not help but frown, looking worriedly at Chu Hen below. However, in response to Old Een Monkey's urging, Chu Hen paused for a moment. Then he slightly closed his eyes and suddenly raised them. Screech! Sharp and rapid waves of air trembled in all directions, accompanied by an especially strong spatial rhythm. Chu Hen's eyes suddenly burst out a bewitching and demonic purple light. In an instant, A terrifying bloodline power that far surpassed the seven-star demon eyes shrouded the huge, dark, ancient tree. Hua, an endless ice-cold aura spread in all directions, and the earth-shattering purple light beams were like countless sharp arrows shuttling between heaven and earth, crisscrossing inside and outside of the tree. Hiss! A series of air currents were sliced and torn apart, and the sinister skull shadow was instantly crushed by the purple light that filled the sky. Kiki! Then the talisman beast suddenly opened its huge mouth. The rapidly expanding mouth was like a boundless dark abyss, erupting with extremely terrifying devouring power. Buzz, buzz! Purple light like rising flames covered the entire evil tree, and the evil aura was quickly suppressed. Then the huge tree showed a dreamy distortion, like a floating reflection on the surface of the water, turned into a nebula whirlpool, and was then swallowed by the talisman beast. Once swallowed the evil tree, the talisman beast's entire body immediately overflowed with a strong, cold, evil aura. Even its eyes became vertical and blood red, like that of a ferocious demon. Come back! Without caring about anything else, Chu Hen directly recalled the talisman beast. The latter immediately turned around and quickly leaped toward Chu Hen. At the same time, its huge body also rapidly shrunk, turning into an illusory flowing light. Hua! A vast and vigorous red halo spread out from Chu Hen's body, and the talisman beast directly turned into a ray of light, drilling into Chu Hen's Naiwen palace. Chu Hen! Luo Mengchong called out anxiously, "Hurry up!" Chu Hen immediately turned around, riding the wind. Buzz! The light beam that poured in became smaller and smaller, and the gap in the passageway narrowed to less than 2 meters wide. It's over, it's over. I'm really going to die of anger because of you. Outside, the olding monkey was so angry that he slapped his thigh. Immediately after, the golden light beam rapidly weakened, returning to an illusory state. However, the distance between Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong was still a few miles. However, at this moment, Chu Hen's demonic purple eyes once again flashed with a strange light. Swoosh! In the next moment, a vigorous wind stacked beside Luo Mengchong, and the latter's beautiful eyes were stunned. Before she could react, Chu Hen's warm and strong palm had already firmly grasped her small hand. Let's go! At the critical moment, just as the golden light beam dissipated, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong immediately flashed into the passageway in the space gap. Chapter 1582. It's over, it's over. I'm really going to be angered to death by the two of them, Heavenly Mystery Palace. In the sky above the manor filled with immortal talisman trees, the spatial passageway that had been closed for 2 months was once again opened. However, compared to 2 months ago, the situation this time was completely different. Because of the collapse of the space within the misty sky, the already fragile inner realm became even more unstable. Therefore, the duration of the passage connecting to the misty sky was very short. The gray storm was like a galaxy whirlpool that engulfed the heavens and earth, enveloping the sky above the Heavenly Mystery Palace. As he approached the entrance of the passageway, the olding monkey was so anxious that he slapped his thigh. Seeing that the spatial crack was quickly closing up, Palace Master Mufei and the 2 white-clothed and black-clothed elders below all frowned slightly, their expressions grave. What's going on? Why did the passageway to the misty sky open again? Many of the disciples in the Heavenly Mystery Palace looked at the sky in confusion. I heard that Han Yu has been clamoring for the Palace Master to open the connection again, saying that he thinks that those 2 people are still alive. Are you kidding? The collapse of the misty sky was so severe that even an Emperor stage expert would not have a corpse left. Looking at Han Yu, it seems that they are indeed still alive. Even though it had been 2 months, in anyone's opinion, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong were already in a situation of certain death. However, the olding monkey still held onto that 1 in a million hope. From his point of view, Chu Hen was not an ordinary person. His father, Chu Ran Tian, and his mother, Li Jixia, were even more extraordinary. It was also because to the old Een monkey, Chu Hen could be said to be his only friend. Therefore, he wanted to give it a try. He wanted to see if Chu Hen was still alive. Unexpectedly, that 1 in a million chance had been fulfilled by the old Een monkey. However, before he could finish being happy, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang did not come out, causing the old Een monkey to be anxious and annoyed. I say, Chu Hen brat, don't be so pretentious. Although I can commit sins, I also know that my life is more important. Buzz! Just as old Een monkey finished speaking, the spatial passageway shrunk to less than 2 meters wide. Just when everyone shook their heads and sighed, thinking that Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang had missed another good opportunity, a swoosh! Sound of a sudden shock wave could be heard, and 2 young figures, one male and one female, suddenly flashed out of the narrow space gap. Hua! The peerless elegance caused everyone's heart to skip a beat. The old Een monkey's tightly knitted brows immediately relaxed, and his eyes lifted, immediately turning from worry to joy. F***CK. The eyes of Palace Master Mu Fei and the 2 old men in white and black robes trembled slightly. Even the nearby Heavenly Mystery Palace disciples felt their hearts clench. Almost at the same time, space violently trembled and the forcefully torn spatial passageway tightly merged together, leaving not a single gap. That works too. Not far away, the old Een monkey was astonished. He opened his mouth and shouted, "Are you trying to scare me? You're still trying to escape with your life?" Looking at the old Een monkey, who still had some lingering fear on his face, Chu Hen had an apologetic look on his face. "I'm sorry, Senior." All right. It's good enough that you're able to come out alive. I've also been worried about the 2 of you. It's good that you're alive. It's good that you're alive." It was obvious that the old Een monkey was relieved. Along with the nebulous storm that gathered in the sky gradually dissipated, Chu Hen, Luo Mingshang, and the old Een monkey landed on the ground below one after another. Palace Master Mu Fei. Seniors. Chu Hen cupped his fists and bowed to Mu Fei and the 2 old men respectively. Looking at the powerful aura and sublime temperament that emanated from Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang, the 3 of them had a little surprise on their faces. Not only did the 2 of them not encounter a calamity in the misty heaven, but their cultivation base had also increased greatly during this period of time. It was really surprising. It seems like the 2 of you have profited from this misfortune, Mu Fei said softly. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang looked at each other and could not help but smile at each other. "Chu Hen boy, have you found your parents?" the old Een monkey asked casually. Although he already had an answer in his heart, he still wanted to confirm it. Chu Hen shook his head. The desolation in his eyes was fleeting. Then he replied with an open mind, "Although I didn't see the 2 of them, I firmly believe that we'll meet again in the future. Let go of your obsession and have hope in your heart." This was the realization that Chu Hen obtained after going through this life and death experience and defeating the demons in his heart. As he spoke, Chu Hen gently held Luo Mingshang's lily-white hand. While he had hope, it was more important to cherish the people in front of him. "It's good that you're able to accept it." The old Een monkey nodded approvingly. "The misty heaven collapsed so badly this time, but the 2 of you are lucky to be able to come out alive. How long have we been in there?" Chu Hen asked casually. "A long time, more than 2 months. Moreover, you should be rushing back." The old Een monkey replied. "Oh." Chu Hen was stunned. "Rushing back? Not going back. Why?" However, when Palace Master Mu Fei saw Chu Hen's puzzled expression, she said meaningfully, "The Sacred Clan Conference is about to begin. You should go back and prepare." "Sacred Clan Conference?" Chu Hen was taken aback. Luo Mingshang was also puzzled. "What Sacred Clan Conference?" Mu Fei only nodded slightly in response to Chu Hen's ignorance and did not explain further. I believe that your clansman will tell you in detail about the sacred clan conference. This conference is very important to the 10 strongest sacred clans, especially to your demon pupil sacred clan. Therefore, it's not convenient for me to keep you here, especially to the demon pupil sacred clan. Mu Fei's tone was clearly solemn and cautious. From their gazes, Chu Hen could clearly sense that something was amiss. All right, I understand. Chu Hen once again cupped his fists and bowed to the few of them. This junior will definitely remember the Oracle Palace's kindness this time. If there's anything you need my help with in the future, feel free to speak up, Palace Master. All right, don't be so courteous with them. The old Een Monkey waved his hand and gently pushed Chu Hen's shoulder. Chu Hen boy, on the day of the Sacred Clan Conference's finals, Big Brother will personally cheer for you. Don't disappoint me, hee. There's a finals? Chu Hen's handsome brows raised slightly as he slightly understood the meaning of the Sacred Clan Conference. Take my token to the Celestial Talisman Region's main city. You can directly leave through the teleportation array. That way, you can quickly return. As the old Een Monkey spoke, he raised his hand and threw a token inscribed with the word Oracle into Chu Hen's hand. Thank you very much, Chu Hen said gratefully. Don't mention it. I was in a rush this time, so I didn't have the time to properly entertain you and your wife. The next time I come, I'll properly bring you around the southern land. Haha, definitely. After a simple farewell, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong immediately left the Oracle Palace. Above the mountain gate, Mu Fei, the old Een Monkey, and the others watched the two of them gradually disappear into the distance. Every one of them had an indescribable, profound meaning in their eyes. Unbelievable, they actually didn't die. The black-clad old man secretly shook his head. Is it because of Chu Rantian? The white-clad old man also muttered to himself. Chu Rantian, just what kind of divine ability does that man possess? Not only did he spare their lives, but he also greatly increased their cultivation. Could it be that Chu Rantian is really still alive? He shook his head. The Oracle Palace Master, Mu Fei, shook his head slightly. He looked up at the sky in front of him. In the gradually darkening sky, a faint crimson blood moon faintly appeared behind the clouds. Sacred Clan Conference. Will there be another change this time? Several days later, at the border of the southern land, the endless mountain ranges were like giant dragons crawling on the ground. Heaven Ravine Mountain Range. A giant mountain range that traversed between the central and southern continents was especially spectacular. Deep behind the Heaven Ravine Mountain Range was the lair of the demon region. They had returned to this place 2 months ago, not long after Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong set foot in the southern land. They were intercepted by a mysterious expert. Without a doubt, Chu Hen was still a little angry during that short exchange. Thinking back to the humiliation the other party had suffered that day, a trace of coldness flashed across Chu Hen's eyes. If that person was a member of the 10 strongest sacred clans, then he would definitely be able to see him again in this sacred clan conference. Chu Hen thought to himself, "Why did you stop?" Luo Mengchong looked at Chu Hen, who had stopped in his tracks. Chu Hen looked up and smiled. He raised his hand and pointed at the incomparably majestic Heaven Ravine Mountain Range. "Didn't you say that we were going to walk along the Heaven Ravine Mountain Range to the Midland?" Chapter 1583. Didn't you say that we're going to walk along the Heaven Ravine Ridge to the Mid-Continent? Chu Hen asked. Huh. Luo Mengchong was stunned for a moment. Her clear eyes were smiling as she looked at him. Is what you said true? Of course. As he spoke, Chu Hen held Luo Mengchong's little hand and walked straight in the direction of the Heaven Ravine Ridge. Wait. Luo Mengchong hurriedly stopped him. I was just joking that day. If we really walk back, how long will it take? Don't we have to rush back to participate in the Saint Clan Conference? Yes. Chu Hen replied, "Then you still plan to walk back?" Luo Mengchang was puzzled. Chu Hen turned around to look at her and could not help but laugh. "I'm just teasing you." As he spoke, Chu Hen stretched out his hand and gently pinched her beautiful cheek. Then his eyes revealed a hint of solemnity. "However, I do have to make a trip to the Heaven Ravine Ridge." Luo Mengchang raised her willowy eyebrows and her beautiful eyes rippled. She could not help but understand. "You're going to the demon region?" "Yes," Chu Hen affirmed. "Why are you going to the demon region? To look for Mu Feng?" Luo Mengchang asked curiously. However, Chu Hen shook his head. At the same time, there was a faint trace of solemnity between his brows. "I just want to confirm something." On the way back to the eastern region, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang turned back to the demon region halfway. After crossing one vast mountain range after another, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang directly crossed the outer area of the Heaven Ravine Ridge and entered the inner area. The undulating mountain range was like a boundless blue sea. The mountain pillars that pierced the sky were even more imposing. In the depths of the Heaven Ravine Ridge, terrifying roars of fierce beasts constantly resounded. Smoke curled up from chimneys, and the scenery was picturesque. One had to admit that the environment of the Heaven Ravine Ridge was excellent. It was like a paradise on earth. However, under this picturesque scenery, it was also a paradise for demon beasts. Of course, to some demon beasts, it was also like hell. Demonic beasts would also hunt and kill each other. It was the same for humans. It was the survival of the fittest. The weak were destined to live in the cracks, or become food in the stomachs of other large demon beasts. The environment of the Heaven Ravine mountain range is much better than I imagined. Even our 9 nether sacred tribe isn't as beautiful as this place. Luo Mengchang held onto Chu Hen's arm, and the two of them strolled leisurely along the shore of a blue lake. The shore was shaded by willow trees, and on one side was a mountain, while on the other was a valley, fully displaying the beauty of nature. Hua! Just as Luo Mengchang finished her words, the clear and pure surface of the lake abruptly exploded into giant waves that soared into the sky. Along with the vast and majestic waves, a powerful and ferocious aura surged out from the water that blotted the sky. A strong cold wind spread out in all directions, sweeping down head-on. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed, and he subconsciously pulled Luo Mengchang behind him. Upon a closer look, he saw that it was a giant serpent. It had the body of a snake, the head of a crocodile, and a pair of huge wings on its back. Its body was more than 100 feet long, and its vertical pupils were coldly staring at Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang below. "Human, do not step into the demon region." The other party actually spoke in the human language, and its deep voice was extremely threatening, as though it came through the mouth of a ventilation tank. However, the serpent beast did not attack. It could be seen that it was still quite fearful of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. These two seemingly insignificant humans were in fact not to be trifled with. "I have something to do in the demon region," Chu Hen calmly replied. "Humph, the demon region does not welcome humans. I advise you to leave immediately." Fearful was fearful. However, it was not the same as being friendly. As soon as the serpent beast's voice fell, there was an extremely strong rhythm in the lake below it. Dense water droplets danced on the surface of the lake, and pairs of eyes flashing with a fierce light emerged from the water. At the same time, there was a strange rustling sound coming from the canyon behind them. Chu Hen glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw thousands of black and red insects crawling out of the cracks in the canyon. The densely packed insects were the size of a fist, and each of them was full of sharp pincers. "Bone bugs." Chu Hen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. "Are they bone bugs that can self-destruct?" Luo Mengchang asked softly. "Yes, and the power produced by the explosion is not weak." Chu Hen gave his affirmation. The Heaven Ravine Ridge was indeed a paradise for monsters. The number of monsters living here could be said to be unusually large. In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong were already surrounded by tens of thousands of bone bugs. It was a black mass that made one's scalp tingle. "Leave immediately," the serpent beast growled. However, there was not the slightest fear on Chu Hen's face. He said, "I'm looking for Mu Feng. Please lead the way. I don't care who you're looking for. Anyone who dares to trespass into the demon domain will die." For fierce and violent monsters, this was the limit of their patience. Roar! As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp cry resounded through the sky. In an instant, the densely packed, bone-sucking bugs became restless. Their dark eyes emitted a blood-red light, and they pounced towards Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang from all directions. Chu Hen smiled frivolously. With a thought, a circle of light purple arc-shaped light curtains spread in all directions. The purple light curtains seemed to fade into thin gauze, but in fact it was impregnable. All the bone bugs were isolated outside, and they could not even get close. Domain! The serpent beast's vertical pupils flashed coldly. As soon as it finished speaking, it opened its mouth, and a steady stream of surging blue monster power gathered in front of it. Buzz, buzz, beams of illusory blue, flowing shadows spun and rotated. Along with the fierce roar of the flood dragon beast, an extremely ferocious cyclone flowed downwards. Along with the rapidly tearing airwaves, an incomparably sharp, illusory blue pillar of water pierced through the sky like a ray of light. Carrying a biting cold killing power, it attacked towards Chu Hen's domain. The sharp water column was extremely fast. Its momentum was extremely strong. In an instant, it arrived in front of the two. However, Chu Hen raised his head slightly, and then a strange power rhythm appeared in his eyes. Bang! A heavy violent explosion sounded, and a circle of light purple light, mixed with a strong blue brilliance, exploded in the air. The space trembled. Before that sharp blue pillar of water could even touch Chu Hen, it had already exploded into thousands of broken shadows. Heaven stage, great Saint King realm. The serpent beast was shocked. Without waiting for him to react, Chu Hen's deep eyes flashed with a purple light once again. An extremely strong aura of danger immediately enveloped the huge beast. Between the heavens and the earth, suddenly a purple light beam appeared. Every light beam was like a sharp giant thorn, a dazzling light that could take away one's life. The whole body swayed with traces of purple flames, and countless purple giant thorns covered the serpent beast from top to bottom, left to right, and from every angle. A thick aura of death rapidly gathered. Chu Hen raised his palm in the air, his 5 fingers slightly bent, and said softly, "Life is also a blade." Zung, a series of terrifying space rhythm shook the void. The serpent beast seemed to have fallen into a whirlpool of death. "Lord Chu Hen, please be lenient." Suddenly, in the moment of imminent peril, a shocked cry came from the other side of the valley. Buzz! A series of explosions rang out in the air, and the thousands of purple spikes that were aimed at the WRM all came to a halt when they were less than half a meter away from its body. Then, more than a dozen figures with ferocious auras hurried over. "I'm sorry, Lord Chu Hen, please have mercy." The one running at the front was a monster that was 3 to 4 meters tall, wearing armor and holding a broad axe in its hand. Its body was similar to a human's, but it had the head of a wolf. When she saw the newcomer, Luo Mengchang looked at Chu Hen with some doubt. "Lord Chu Hen, we've met before when the Holy War ended." The other party said. Chu Hen was stunned for a moment, and then his eyelids twitched. "I remember now. You're the dog-headed marshal that follows Mu Feng." "Huh." The other party laughed a little awkwardly. "To be precise, I'm the wolf warrior commander. Lord Chu Hen can call me Nessie." Chu Hen sniffled a little embarrassedly. "I'm sorry, Commander Nessie. Lord Chu Hen is too polite." He then pointed at the serpent beast in the sky and said, "Lord Chu Hen, the black serpent commander has never seen you before, and didn't know you were a friend of Lord Mu Fong. Please forgive me." Chu Hen nodded slightly. "It's all right, I came too abruptly." After saying that, Chu Hen waved his arm, and with a whoosh sound, the countless purple light thorns that intertwined around the black serpent beast flew out like a rain of swords and then disappeared into the air. The wolf warrior commander nodded secretly, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. "We haven't seen each other for a long time. Lord Chu Hen's cultivation has increased greatly again. It really makes me feel ashamed." Chu Hen smiled politely. The black serpent, which had just escaped death, now did not have the confidence it had before, and curled up its body, not daring to move. "Lord Chu Hen, you're here to see Lord Mu Fong, right?" the wolf warrior commander asked, and then explained, "But you might not be able to see him. Lord Mu Fong has always been in seclusion. But Lord Haozi is still here." "No!" Chu Hen denied, and said with a decisive tone, "This time, I'm here to visit the Demon Realm Emperor." Chapter 1584. This time, I am here to visit your monster region's emperor. He was not here to look for Mu Fong and Haozi. He was here to see the monster region's emperor. Chu Hen's answer not only stunned the wolf warrior commander, but even Luo Mengchang, who was next to Chu Hen, was a little surprised. "You want to see the monster emperor?" The wolf warrior commander wanted to confirm again. "Yes," Chu Hen confirmed. "I wonder if you can help me inform him." The wolf warrior seemed to be a little embarrassed. One must know that the monster region's emperor had a supreme status and was extremely respected. Ordinary people would find it difficult to even set foot in the monster region, let alone see him. After a slight hesitation, the wolf warrior commander replied, "With my status, I can't personally bring you to see the monster emperor, but I can help you inform him. However, I can't guarantee that the monster emperor will see you." The wolf warrior commander's words were also very pertinent. His status in the monster region was not considered high, so he was indeed not qualified to meet the monster emperor directly. "Then I'll have to trouble you," Chu Hen said. The wolf warrior nodded. "Please follow me." Chu Hen nodded slightly and immediately followed the wolf warrior and several monster clan guards into the depths of the canyon with Luo Mengchang. Deep in the Heaven Ravine Ridge, it was surrounded by mountains with giant peaks that reached the sky. Curling smoke shrouded the sky like a natural barrier, making it difficult for people on the outside to observe the environment inside. Under the leadership of the wolf warrior, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang gradually walked into the depths of the canyon. What came into view was a particularly spectacular ancient stone city. The stone city that spread throughout the canyon was very imposing. Compared to the city buildings in the human territory, it was a little less exquisite and luxurious, but more majestic. Whether it was the stone city or the buildings in the city, they were all very magnificent. Compared to the human territory, the same buildings were at least 5 or 6 times larger, and some were even more than 10 times larger. The unique atmosphere of the monster region also surprised Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. "Is this the first time the two of you have come to our demon region?" the wolf warrior commander asked politely. "Yes," Chu Hen replied in surprise. "The territory of the demon region is spectacular." "Ha ha ha ha. Actually, we demon beasts yearn for the life of humans, so we imitate the structure of some of our buildings. However, we demon beasts are also very territorial. Those who can own cities and palaces all have very high statuses." Chu Hen nodded slightly, indicating that he was listening. As they went deeper and deeper into the territory of the Devil Territory, Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang then entered a particularly magnificent city. It was indeed a huge city. If the city gate was opened, large demonic beasts that were more than 100 feet tall could easily pass through. Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang, 2 humans, seemed extremely small. The moment the 2 of them stepped into the city, they were met with fierce and cold glares from the vast city. Nethys, you actually brought humans here, a hoarse and fierce voice came from the left. Along with the earth shaking uneasily, a huge claw directly blocked in front of Chu Hen and the others. The huge black shadow covered the sky, and what came into view was a giant crocodile demonic beast that was more than 100 meters tall. Its entire body was covered in thick scales as if it was made of copper, and its mouth was full of fangs like a hacksaw, very sharp. Lord Crocodile Sovereign, these two are friends of Lord Mu Fong. The wolf warrior commander hurriedly explained. Oh, friends of that bastard Mu Fong? Yes. Humph. The giant crocodile glanced at Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang with disdain, then moved its giant claw away, turned around and swaggered away. Chu Hen was stunned. The other party was obviously disdainful, but it did not make things difficult for him. What was going on? Mu Fong seems to be quite disliked in the monster territory, Luo Mingshang whispered. Quite disliked. The wolf warrior commander turned around and said when he first came to the monster territory he caused trouble every few days. Once, he even stole Lord Crocodile's crocodile egg. Lord Crocodile chased him for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, it was Lord Junjianga who came forward to settle the matter. What? Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang were speechless. No wonder when the giant crocodile heard the 2 words Mu Fong, it was full of disdain and did not want to pay attention to him. It turned out that it wanted to stay away from that plague star. But Lord Mu Fong is so disliked by others. But Lord Haozi is especially popular, especially the demonic beasts of the Weasel clan. They are especially close to him. Even the princess of the Purple Gold Sky Weasel clan likes Lord Haozi very much. Oh! Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Purple Gold Sky Weasel. Yes, the Sky Weasel clan is one of the 7 major monster clans in our monster territory. Chu Hen had heard a little about the 7 major monster clans. The leaders of the 7 monster clans were second only to the monster territory's emperor. Among the 7 monster clans, the 9-tailed fox clan was ranked first. However, after the upheaval of the 9-tailed fox clan, they were no longer as glorious as they used to be. Even so, the 9-tailed fox monarch Jianga had an extremely high status in the monster territory. There was also Mo Qingli's clan, the saint-winged heavenly flame sparrow clan, which was also one of the 7 major monster clans. However, the heavenly flame sparrow clan had left the monster territory a long time ago. Therefore, the current monster territory was generally managed and controlled by the other 5 monster clans and the monster clan Great Emperor. I wonder if Lord Junjianga is in the monster territory? Chu Hen asked casually. No, the leader of the wolf warriors answered with certainty. Lord Junjianga is rarely in the monster territory. Even if he is, he won't stay for long. Chu Hen nodded. He also knew that Junjianga was carrying a very important mission. Therefore, he was not surprised at all. Just like how monster beasts entered the territory of humans, humans who walked into the territory of monster beasts were like aliens, especially those pairs of unfriendly eyes, which made people feel somewhat uncomfortable. Of course, this was normal. Chu Hen did not take it to heart. About an hour later, in front of a majestic hall, there was a wide flight of steps, each of which was as high as a person's knee. The huge palace, supported by the huge pillars, was like an ancient god. Every brick and tile displayed an unparalleled and extraordinary domineering aura. Nethysai, why did you bring 2 humans to the Monster Emperor's palace? At this moment, the 2 figures guarding outside the main hall cast a cold and vigilant gaze at him. The 2 guards were like the legendary demon dragons. Their claws touched the ground, but they stood upright like humans. They wore armor and held long spears in their hands. Their terrifying heads revealed a strong domineering aura. Zwalong, the 2 lords on the right are friends of Lord Mu Fong. They are here to visit the Monster Emperor. The wolf warrior guard hurriedly explained. Since they are friends of Mu Fong, They should be looking for Mu Feng. Why are they here? The two guards did not seem to give him any face. Seeing this, Chu Hen took a step forward and said, I have something to ask of the Monster Emperor. Humph, the Monster Emperor is not someone anyone can see. Moreover, you are a human, the demon dragon guard on the left said coldly. Please inform the Monster Emperor that Chu Hen of the Demon Eye clan has something important to discuss with him. Chu Hen said in a low voice, Demon Eye clan? The two guards looked at each other and were slightly surprised. But soon one of them rejected. No matter which clan you are from, the Monster Emperor will not see you, and there is no need for him to see you. What if I insist on seeing him? Chu Hen clenched his fists, a cold glint surging in his eyes. How dare you? The guards on the left and right shouted in unison. Lord Chu Hen, you must not. The wolf warrior commander hurriedly stopped them. This was the monster realm. If Chu Hen caused a ruckus, they would be the ones to suffer, and they might even be dragged into it. Why don't you wait for Lord Mu Feng to come out of seclusion? He can bring you to see the Monster Emperor. How much longer before Mu Feng comes out? Chu Hen asked. This, I am not sure. Why aren't you leaving? Before they could say anything else, the two demon dragon guards started to ask them to leave, and their tone was especially hostile. Chu Hen's face darkened, and there was a cold glint in his eyes. Humph. If you don't leave, don't blame us for being impolite. One of the demon dragon guards shouted coldly. Chu Hen sneered. No matter what, I will definitely see him in the future. After all, this was the Monster Realm's lair. Chu Hen also knew that he could not act recklessly, not to mention that Luo Mengchong was still by his side. If a conflict really broke out, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Tell the Monster Emperor that Chu Hen did not see him today, but he will definitely visit again in the future. With that, Chu Hen grabbed Luo Mingchong's wrist and turned to leave. At this moment, the two demon dragon guards at the entrance of the hall suddenly froze. Hold on. One of the guards shouted. Is there anything else? Chu Hen said indifferently. The Monster Emperor wants you to enter. Chapter 1585. The Demon Emperor asked you to enter. The sudden change of words from the two demon dragon guards caused everyone present to be stunned. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong looked at each other and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. The two demonic dragon guards each took a step back and slightly raised their hands, making a gesture of please. The change was so big that it was somewhat unexpected. On second thought, with the identity and status of the Demon Emperor, there was no need for him to use any tricks on the two juniors of the human race. Without further guessing, Chu Hen held Luo Mingchong's hand and the two directly stepped onto the tall steps in front of them, walking straight towards the gate of the giant hall that looked like an ancient god. It was cold and quiet, and the space inside was very vast. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong felt as if they had stepped into a palace where giants lived. Their figures were so small that they were not even as big as the steps at the door. An invisible, majestic aura filled the huge palace. The two shadows lengthened and shortened at the door. The dark stone floor tiles were quite flat and had a unique texture when they stepped on them. At the top of the hall, a burly figure sat on a stone throne that was as spacious as a bed. The figure was more than 2 meters tall and was dressed in a dark golden dragon robe. An expensive marten coat was draped over his shoulders, and his silver hair was tied up with a purple gold crown. He looked like a high and mighty emperor. He leaned sideways on the armrest of the throne and supported his chin with his arms. His eyes were slightly closed, as if he was resting. Although the figure had a human appearance, the unconcealable and powerful demonic aura on his body made one's heart palpitate. Chu Hen gently let go of Luo Mengchong's hand and walked steadily to the front of the throne room. I am Chu Hen. I pay my respects to Demon Emperor Qi Kong. As he spoke, he cupped his fists and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, Qi Kong. This was the name of the Demon Emperor in front of him. It was also told to Chu Hen by the wolf warrior commander Nesses on the way here. As soon as he finished speaking, the figure in the throne room suddenly opened his eyes. A pair of blue and white eyes revealed two sharp and peerless rays of light. Buzz, a formless and majestic aura whizzed downwards. Chu Hen's body trembled involuntarily, and he felt as if he had sunk into the depths of a quagmire. Screech! Accompanied by a sharp howl, Chu Hen's eyes quietly glowed with a purple light, exuding a demonic aura. Following that, Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. He saw an extremely domineering and ethereal shadow floating behind the other party. Even under the observation of the demon eye, the illusory figure could not be seen clearly. It vaguely resembled the body of a demon dragon with wings on its back. Was that the other party's main body? Chu Hen was secretly shocked. Did you just say your surname is Chu? At this moment, the invisible pressure that enveloped Chu Hen loosened, and Demon Darch Chi Kong stared fixedly at the audience hall. There was not the slightest hint of emotion in the voice, and there was a kind of calm majesty. Soon after, the purple light in Chu Hen's eyes also receded. Yes, my surname is Chu, surname Chu. But he also had a pair of demon eyes. Demon Darch Chi Kong looked at the two of them indifferently and said, "Why are you looking for me?" Chu Hen paused slightly and turned back to look at Luo Mingshang. A complicated look flashed in his eyes, and then he turned back to look at Demon Darch Chi Kong. "I would like to ask Demon Darch a few questions, and I hope that you can answer truthfully." "Speak." Demon Darch Chi Kong replied indifferently. "May I ask what is the relationship between Demon Darch and White Emperor?" "White Emperor? He was the god I Emperor, the ruler of White Emperor City in the Cloud World, and also one of the 10 great Saint Race Emperors whose name shook the world." When she heard Chu Hen's question, Luo Mingshang, who was behind him, could not help but clench her jade-like hands, and a slight ripple appeared in her clear eyes. "Best friends." Demon Darch Chi Kong replied briefly. "Then, may I ask Demon Darch, when Demon I Emperor and White Emperor agreed to fight at the Sky Palace for the Battle of Heavenly King Mountain, did your demon region send out a large force?" Chu Hen asked solemnly. "Yes." "Where did they go?" Chu Hen stared at his jade-blue eyes, which were filled with the majesty of an emperor. "Chaos Race," Demon Darch Chi Yen said. His calm voice did not have any intention of avoiding the question. In his eyes, there was no need for him to avoid Chu Hen. The reason was simple. He was Demon Darch Chi Kong, the supreme ruler of the demon region. When he heard the words Chaos Race, Chu Hen's expression changed. His eyes could not help but turn slightly red. "You and White Emperor really worked together to wipe out the Chaos Race." Every word was heavy and filled with hatred. Chu Hen clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. Luo Mingshang hurriedly went forward to hold Chu Hen's arm, trying to calm his emotions. However, Demon Darch Chi Kang's reply stunned Chu Hen once again. No. Chu Hen frowned. "What do you mean? It was not me who wiped out the Chaos Race." Demon Darch Chi Kong said, "When I arrived at the Chaos Race, the tragedy had already happened, and I only saw corpses all over the ground." And what? Chu Hen's eyes darkened. Demon Darch Chi Kang's eyes turned cold as he looked at Chu Hen solemnly. "I'm not sure. The person who sent the message to me and asked me to lead everyone to the Chaos Race was from White Emperor. Why? I don't know, I'm just not sure." Demon Darch Chi Kong gave a vague answer. "But you can't be sure that the message was not sent by White Emperor. You can't deny that the one who wiped out the Chaos Race and severely injured the Demon Eye race was the Divine Eye race," Chu Hen said coldly. "You can understand it that way." Demon Darch Chi Kong did not deny it. After all, everyone thinks that White Emperor led people to wipe out the Chaos Race and the Demon Eye race. Don't you think so? Chu Hen clenched his teeth. "I think so too, but I feel that there are some suspicious points. What suspicious points? Chi Kong did not answer immediately. Instead, he stared at Chu Hen with a meaningful look. You seem to be unwilling to accept this fact? Can you tell me why? Everyone knew that the Divine Eye race and the Demon Eye race had been mortal enemies since ancient times. Neither race was willing to submit to the other, and there were endless grudges between them. Back then, the Divine Eye race definitely did not wish to see the Chaos race and the Demon Eye race united by marriage. The Primal Chaos clan had been exterminated, the Demon Pupil Saint clan had suffered heavy losses and almost perished, and the Godly Eye Saint clan was the biggest suspect. Yet, Chu Hen had found his way here, and even publicly sought out the Demon Emperor to verify this matter. It seemed to be an unnecessary move, especially when Demon Large Chi Kong seemed to have seen through Chu Hen's inner thoughts. He seemed to be unwilling to accept the Divine Eye race's actions back then. Demon Large Chi Yen saw a hint of luck in Chu Hen's eyes. There was still a glimmer of hope in his heart. Faced with Demon Large Chi Kang's question, Chu Hen's eyes were indescribably complicated. He looked at Luo Mengchong apologetically. Luo Mengchong naturally knew what Chu Hen was thinking. She smiled faintly. Her eyes were as clear as water, and she was devastatingly beautiful. As if she was encouraging Chu Hen, she nodded slightly, indicating that she was not angry and did not blame him. Chu Hen's expression relaxed slightly, and he pursed his lips slightly. Then he faced Demon Large Chi Kong. There's a very important person standing on the Divine Eye race's side. Oh! Demon Large Chi Kong raised his white eyebrows, and a hint of surprise flashed in his blue and white eyes. I see. So, what is the suspicious point that you mentioned? Chu Hen asked. Demon Large Chi Kong stood up with his arms behind his back. His tall and burly figure had an innate aura of a king. The biggest suspicious point is that White the Arch is also dead. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. This is a suspicious point? Isn't Emperor Demon Eye's strength on par with White Thearch's? That's right, although their strength is on par, and Emperor Demon Eye also has the ability to kill White the Arch. But based on my understanding of White the Arch, if he really wanted to annihilate the Demon Eye race, he would definitely not make any mistakes. In terms of cultivation strength, Emperor Demon Eye may not be weaker than White the Arch, but in terms of talent, strategy, and intelligence, he is far from White the Arch. This was Demon Large Chi Kang's evaluation of White the Arch. Talent and strategy. In fact, White the Arch had a good relationship with the other great emperors. Even Demon Large Chi Kong, who disdained to associate with humans, could become close friends with White the Arch. This was enough to show that White the Arch had other super strong support in addition to his own strength. White the Arch has the ability to annihilate two races at the same time, and he will not sacrifice himself. Demon Large Chi Kong said, and then a hint of pity flashed in his eyes. However, the final news I received was that he and Emperor Demon Eye both died in Firmament Palace. Chu Hen could not help but think about the suspicious point that Demon Large Chi Kong mentioned. As a great emperor of the monster region, there seemed to be no reason for him to deceive himself. Or was he lying? Was he trying to shirk his responsibility? Soon, Chu Hen secretly denied it. With Demon Large Chi Kang's cultivation and ability, why would he take him seriously, let alone fabricate such a lie to fool them? Why don't you look for Abysmal Emperor? At this moment, Demon Emperor Chi Kong suddenly said a sentence, which once again made Chu Hen's heart in the hall shrink abruptly. Luo Mengchong, who was beside him, also had a change of expression. Both of them looked at each other's proud and calm, majestic face in astonishment.